And good afternoon. It's 2018, and it's the first Friday of the school semester, so that means we are back here with the weekend sports kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, joined today by Ryan, Elliott, Jacob, Blair, and Trevor Maeder.
Hello.
Only one change today. We got Jacob instead of Sean. We're going to miss Sean as he graduated, as Trevor keeps hitting the
Sean,
camera
if you're
over
watching
there.
or listening, love you, buddy.
Yeah,
I believe Sean is watching. It says here, Sean Eno is watching with
Good.
you.
We are on Facebook Live, so thanks everybody for tuning in there, as well as 106.7 here in Maryville, and everywhere else you guys listen to us here on the show. We're going to start today's show off, as we usually do, with Bearcat Athletics, and we're going to start out there. Of course, games tomorrow, as we have Southwest Baptist at 1:30 and 3:30 versus Southwest Baptist. And what do you guys think about the games going on tomorrow?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this team responds coming off of the loss they had last week. They were supposed to play last night. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had different plans, and that did not happen. But I do believe they have a makeup day scheduled for that game. So
Monday,
and
Monday, 1:30, 3:30.
I should know. So we still plan on calling that game Monday?
Yes, we are. We're going to have Austin and Jacob Blair here calling it on Monday. Should be a fun one versus UCM, especially for the guys' game. The UCM girls are really good. They're undefeated in conference right now, ranked number 1 in conference play right now. So that'll be a tough one for the girls and for the guys, because I know UCM's also tied with Northwest to that one loss in conference play. But as you said with the men, only one loss in the year came last Thursday on January 4th down in Joplin. Only loss the last couple of years has been down in Joplin to Missouri Southern. It was a 6-point loss, and this one 83-77. And in that game, Missouri Southern shot lights out in the second half, 58% from the three-point line and 57% from the field, as they were able to put up almost 50-some points in the second half to upset the number 1 ranked Bearcats. Put up 56 points second half against Northwest defense. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and when you look at this game and I look at the statistics, Northwest actually outshot Missouri Southern in that game. Missouri Southern shot about 45%. Northwest shot 52%. Justin Pitts had a great game, 10 of 20 from the field, 3 of 8 from beyond the arc. Had 31 points. He also got 13 from Brett Doherty, 12 from Chrissy Buendow, and 12 from Joey Wittes. So it wasn't really even so much that Northwest played bad as Missouri Southern played really, really good. They were led by 27 points from C.J. Carr, who went 7 of 21 from the field, 3 of 8 from beyond the arc. They just, like you said, shot lights out, particularly mainly 2 players for them shot lights out.
Well, and you look at one of the things that I'll point out from that game is the uncharacteristic number of turnovers for Northwest. 10 turnovers in that game. That's something that you almost never see from the Bearcats. Maybe 11.
Yeah, 11 with 10 assists.
11. 11 turnovers is just almost unheard of for Northwest. And when you go on the road against a team like that who's playing well, 11 turnovers just isn't going to cut it.
And Justin Pitts had 3 himself. He never turns the ball over, and he had a little bit of an off day handling the ball, but he still put up 31 points, as we said, on 10 of 20 shooting. So not much they could do there. Endow had a double-double, as Trevor said, there with 12 points and 10 rebounds. So it's not like they played bad offensively, just defensively they couldn't get stops down the stretch. And as I said, they're 58%, 7 of 12 from the 3 in the second half. That's hard to stop. So Southern, back-to-back years knocking off Northwest in their home gym down in Joplin. So, kudos to Southern. They always play well. They match up well with Northwest, and they kind of just go out there and shoot well, and they pull the upset off.
You know, a loss is never good.
No.
But in this situation, you almost feel a little bit better that they got it off their chest early, because there was a lot of pressure last year when you got late into the season. They're making their last road trip. They're undefeated.
Yep.
And you almost don't want to go into the playoffs undefeated, because if you do, that's just an added bonus of not only are you playing in postseason ball, but now all of a sudden you've got this spotless record on the back of your mind. Now they get the adversity out of the way early. They get a chance to learn from it, and they came back and we saw exactly what they did against Pittsburgh State.
And one thing I want to say with that, and it came 2 games after they throttled Lincoln Memorial, number 14 in the nation, in a neutral site game. It was a 14-point game at the end, but they were up by almost 30 in the second half at some points. So it was almost good. They got that almost snap back to reality, and Coach Mack can refocus them a little bit and get them to, like, hey, you guys can't take nights off versus anybody, because look what Southern did to you. I know you beat up on Lincoln Memorial and UCM before that, but, hey, there's teams in this conference, if you go on the road and you're not focused or even at home, you can lose to teams. So maybe that's what that refocusing almost what you need from college students sometimes. And I think it's happened at a good time of the year.
Well, and there were 2.5 games. There was a stretch of 2.5 games there that they just didn't play very well. They didn't play very well against Simpson College. Of course, the loss to Missouri Southern, and the first half against Pitt State was not good.
They're down by 1. Yeah.
And so I think the second half against Pitt State kind of woke them up a little bit, and now they've got a little bit of momentum heading into Southwest Baptist tomorrow afternoon.
That plus 27 in the second half looks really good.
And it's funny because we're sitting here talking about how Ryan said that the loss to Missouri Southern was probably kind of a relief to him. And I remember last year, granted it was later in the season, saying the same exact thing when they were, 24-0, 25-0, something like that, before they finally got beat. It takes the pressure off of you. Now you don't go in with that target on your back, and you can kind of play freely. And, I mean, if they drop 3 or 4 more down the stretch, then you can say, okay, maybe this team isn't as great as we thought it was. But really right now it's just 1 loss.
Well, and it's such a long season. There's so many games. It's almost impossible to go undefeated in college basketball. It's just it's almost impossible. And so I know I didn't expect it coming in. I knew there was a chance, but I didn't expect it coming in. I don't think any of you guys expected it coming in. It's just so hard to do.
And it's really hard to do, especially when you're the reigning national champion and then you're in the MIAA where you see these teams every single year. You've got that, target on your back, even though you're a little bit of a different team. Getting through conference, it wasn't too much of a surprise to me they got through non-conference play without a loss, but getting through conference play without a loss was going to be really tough.
I mean, I just went back and looked at all the champions in past history in D2 basketball, and the last one I saw that went undefeated was 96, and that was Fort Hays, went 34-0. Before that, 93 with Cal State Bakersfield went 33-0. But other than that, I don't see a whole lot of teams.
Division I now.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and that's all I'm seeing here. And I'm going all the way back to the 60s, and finally back in 65, Evansville goes undefeated. It's hard. It's hard to go undefeated in basketball.
Last time it happened in D1 was 76. It just doesn't happen very often. And so you can't. I just as good as your team is, you just can't expect it. There's liable to be a spot where they're going to stumble at least once along the way, and it's just a matter of if they stumble against the right team, they'll be okay, but if you stumble against a team like Missouri Southern, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but like I said, you look at the Missouri Southern loss, and it wasn't, other than the turnovers, it wasn't like they played a terrible game. I mean, they didn't go out and shoot 25% or anything like that. They outshot Missouri Southern. Missouri Southern just was able to make shots when they needed to and was able to kind of pick that defense like we haven't seen someone do this year. Do you think maybe if you're Missouri Southern, if maybe they were kind of looking forward to coming back in, if the Bearcats come back into Joplin?
Well, they had that thing that came out, Xavier Kirsch comment after going into this game, like, hey, that's one guys we want to win. That's our one blemish last year. That's one we have to get. And they printed out the quote, and they had it before the game. So you could tell Southern was motivated for that and playing in front of their home crowd. It's hard to win in Joplin. It just is. I mean, they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. When they're on their up and up, they can beat anybody in the nation. When they're down and down, they could lose to an NAIA school. I mean, it's the way Southern is.
And you mentioned a Jekyll and Hyde team. That Jekyll and Hyde tends to coincide with home and away. Yep. And you look at there was a stretch in the second half of about 4 consecutive, maybe 5 consecutive made three-pointers that were all contested shots. They were all hand in the face from 26 feet. Just why did that go in? They hit 4 or 5 straight, and that just doesn't happen on the road. That only happens for them in Joplin. They only have that feel in Joplin.
Yeah, I mean, their losses this year, neutral site game at Pitt State versus St. Cloud and Minnesota State, they lost those games pretty bad. They lost neutral site games at Northern State, was a good team, and then they beat Wayne State neutral site. I mean, they lost at Fort Hays, at Kearney, but then they come back and they beat Northwest at home and Truman State at home in a neutral site game in Illinois. I mean, they're just kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team. They lost to Oklahoma Wesleyan at home. I mean, I don't know exactly. They lose those games, and then a couple games later they beat Northwest. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They're Jekyll and Hyde thing right now, but they're always dangerous, and they match up well with Northwest. That's what basketball is. It's a game of matchups.
And that's I was just thinking about that. Last year they go into Joplin, and really, for lack of a better word, the Bearcats kind of got pushed around. They ended up losing by 17. But then you get them away from Joplin, as we alluded to. You play in Kansas City in the MIAA tournament. You get in the semifinal, back and forth game. Zach Schneider hits the go-ahead with 2.5 seconds to go, and they end up winning by 4 in that one. So it's just a tough matchup, and it'll be interesting to see this matchup, if it happens again in the MIAA tournament, what the Bearcats can bring and what they've learned from that loss to Missouri Southern.
Yeah, definitely. And looking for, they got Southwest Baptist coming in 3-2 in conference play, 9-5 overall. Just kind of a solid team, not great, not awful. So interesting matchup versus Southwest Baptist on Saturday. That's a 3:30 tip-off for the men, and then on Monday at 3:30 versus Central Missouri, who's 4-1. Their one conference loss is to Northwest in Warrensburg, so that's a big matchup for the Bearcats. And their other loss was at home to Cameron University. So that's their 2 losses on the year. Both were double-digit losses, but they beat some pretty good teams on the way to this record. So not 2 easy games over the weekend. I mean, the MIAA is a pretty good conference. They're going to play tough teams game in, game out on usually. So Northwest has their hands full for the men this weekend. Then we go over to the women. They're still looking for their first conference win, but they host a team Saturday in Southwest Baptist who also has not got a conference win this year. So possible opening there for the Bearcats, even though they do have a winning record. The Southwest Lady Bearcats do. They have not got a conference win this year. So Northwest gets a win here. All of a sudden, they'd be scheduled to be in the tournament because there's 3 teams with no wins in the conference play in Baptist, Northwest, and Lincoln.
Here's the scary thing about SBU, though. Earlier in the season, they beat at the time 7th-ranked Drury University.
Yeah.
Who, that's
by 11.
That's not a bad. That's not a bad win.
No.
Not a bad win at all. And you look at the teams they've beaten in UCO, and or the teams they've lost to, rather, UCO, Northeastern State, who's been better than they were last year. UCM by just 5. They gave Central all they could have on their home floor. Kearney, Hayes. Those are the teams that they've lost to. All
Hayes by a point.
Yeah, all top half of the conference teams. So this isn't a pushover of an SBU team, but it certainly is a team that this Northwest women's team can compete with and can run up and down the floor with. And if they're in it at the end of the game, then they've got to feel pretty good.
And Southwest Baptist, I did a little research. I'm calling the game Saturday with Perry Randle, who you'll see on the show later. I'm doing some research. They have 2 girls who score. They have Kaylee Richardson, who's a 6'2" post. She averages about 15 and 8 a game. And then their guard, Megan Rosenbaum, she went to the same high school as I did here at Nottoway Holt, just 20 minutes from Maryville. She averages 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, like 2 steals a game. She's just an all-around player in her senior year. So that's their 1-2 combo. Those 2 girls are going to be Southwest Baptist most of their offense, battling Tanya Meyer and a bunch of freshmen. So should be a fun game. Should be a pretty good atmosphere, actually, because Megan, she has a pretty good following in this area. So there'll be a pretty good crowd to see Megan play, and it'll be a better crowd for the women's game than we've seen in the past. So expect a good crowd there on Saturday at 1:30. It's also, I think, a Military Appreciation Day for the game as well, so I know they're promoting that. And then, of course, on Monday, they're doing the Cat Jam, the Space Jam theme thing for the game for UCM, which Jacob and Austin will be calling for us there for that. So, and the game Monday might be a little rough. I mean, UCM's undefeated in conference. This might be a rough game for the girls in that one just because UCM is that good.
Yeah. I want to take a step back to Southwest Baptist real quick.
Yeah.
They've beaten, or they've got 5. They're 0-5 in the MIAA play.
Yep.
4 of those 5 losses are to teams that currently have 10 wins.
Yeah, tough schedule start of year.
Pretty good.
The only one that's not is Northeastern State, who is, I think, 9-5 right now.
8-6, yeah.
8-6,
right there.
There you go. So, there's that.
Yeah, Baptist, they're a solid team. I mean, they just had a tough schedule early. Then they were picked to finish like 9th in the conference to start the year. So they're middle-of-the-road team. They just faced a lot of top of the conference teams. They're not winning a lot of those games if you're middle of the pack. So it should be a fun game there on Saturday, though, between the Bearcats and the Bearcats. So you guys have anything else? I know a couple of things in Northwest news. Mel Churchman to another Hall of Fame. Which one was that again?
College Football Hall of Fame. The whatever one.
The big one?
The big one.
Yeah, college football
Even though
Hall of Fame.
ESPN still can't spell Northwest Missouri State, or Northwestern,
there's
apparently.
a lot of things say.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
They spelled Churchma right, though.
Yeah, that was a plus.
That's you. Like if you were to tell me ESPN messed up one of these, I would assume, because I don't even know if I could spell Churchma.
I think they messed up Mel.
I got it. I'm on it.
I think I got it. It's 2 E's, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I would have got it. I
think
would get
they
it
would
then.
mess up Mel, but
Yeah, yeah. That well, you never
It's
know. It could be
ESPN.
2 L's. I mean, it's tough. That might get me. But yeah, you would think if they were gonna mess up one of them, they would get Northwest, because it was a Northwestern Missouri State they had.
Yep. Other news: Northwest. Colin Bevins signed a reserve future deal with the Cleveland Browns, former defensive end for the Bearcat football team. So congratulations to Colin on that.
My first thought was, well, he's going to Cleveland. So, but you know what? It's an opportunity. It's an NFL team, and obviously nowhere to go but up for the Cleveland Browns. But
Definitely a roster spot available.
if you offered me an NFL opportunity tomorrow, absolutely I would take it, no matter where I'm playing.
Yeah.
And so just so proud of Colin. Everybody here at Northwest is so proud of Colin, and he's got a great opportunity there in Cleveland.
Absolutely. We hope that it's able to work out for him, and we can see him playing on Sundays in 2018.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And we're going to take a break. When we come back, a little more sad news. We're going to talk about the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a break. We'll
How
be back.
dare you?
We'll be back with more here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. And welcome back in to the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott, Jacob Blair, and Trevor Maeder, as we have some sad discussions. Now, as it's time for the Chiefs, I just opened that wrong. Sorry, you got Caleb. But, yeah, attack everything.
I think it should have actually been attack nothing.
Yep.
Definitely in that second
fear
half.
everything, attack
Yeah,
nothing.
Fear everything, attack nothing.
Attack in the first half.
Yeah. Attack,
Yeah.
take a break.
All right, Chiefs lost 22-21 to the Titans after having 21-3 lead at halftime. I was there. It was sad.
Yeah.
So was Caleb, or one of our associate producer on the KNWT side. He was there as well. Sad day for Chiefs.
Just when you think they can't find another way to break your heart, like I was at the Steelers game they lost last year, and they literally found a new way to lose that game. No team had ever scored 2 or more touchdowns and lost to a team they did not score a touchdown in like 200 and some games that had happened in. And I walked out of the stadium, I was thinking, how did they find a way to lose this game? And I was like, surely there will never be another loss that hurts like this one. And then the second half of the game, they were like, hold my beer and check this out.
Yeah, it was rough there for that game, leaving that game. Of course, leaving Arrowhead's never easy.
No.
But when fans are angry, it's even harder. So that was not fun leaving the stadium there on Saturday night. With Sean, actually. Sean was with me, and just pain leaving the stadium.
I've came to the kind of assumption the Chiefs are kind of like that on again, off again girlfriend you have where they break your heart and you're like, it's okay. So you go back to them and they do it again and you're like, but I still love them. And then they do it again. And eventually, we're not smart enough to just stop. I mean, do you guys get where I'm coming from with that? We're not smart enough to say, no, I'm done. I'm mad at you. I don't ever want to see you again or think about you or talk about you. Because we're sitting here talking about it right now.
I had so much high expectations. I got so up for this game. It just didn't happen.
And I think that's what made it rough. Is I was telling people before the Titans game, I said, if they lose in the wild card, that'll probably be the least painful of the losses for me than if they have any other loss because we wouldn't have got as far. And then they found a way to break my heart. I mean, if we would have gone out and just been a back and forth game and lost 24-21 on a last-second field goal, no blown 18-point lead on top of that, or terrible play calling in the second half, I'd have been fine with that. It would have hurt, but I'd have been fine with that. But to be up 21-3 at halftime and to think the game was in control against a mediocre team,
At best.
I mean, let's be real. Most years, this Tennessee team probably isn't a playoff team. The AFC was just so down this year. They came in, they kind of underachieved their way in. They were 7-4, and they finished the regular season 2-3.
They had a negative point differential.
Yeah, I mean, how many teams make the playoffs and do that?
Not many.
Not many at all. So it was just sad to watch, and I didn't get to watch all the game. I had prior commitments Saturday, but I did get to catch the end of it, and that was enough to make me sad.
What about you, Jacob?
Well, I was sitting there and was pretty excited until it got to about 14-0. And then I was at the Tennessee game from last year.
I was
too.
too.
They did the same thing.
It was cold.
And you just had this feeling when it was 14-0, like something bad was getting ready to happen.
You mean like Mariota catching a touchdown pass from himself?
And when
but
that happened,
then they got to halftime at 21-3, and you're sitting there going, okay, we're going to be okay. We're up 18. We're playing well. And then Mariota does the pass to himself, and you just sit there and you just know. You have hope that it's not going to happen, but you just know the Chiefs are about to do another Chiefly thing.
Right. So,
Yes.
2 things. I want to address the play calling in the second half.
it's kind of hard not to.
Well, the types of plays that they called, I was happy with. The way that they balanced the offense, I was happy with. The way that they ran those plays, I was not happy with. Let's take a step back. After Mariota throws the touchdown pass to himself.
Yeah.
You're up 11, midway through the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing in the shotgun, running zone read plays, pack the box with 3 tight ends, put Anthony Sherman in at fullback, and turn around and hand it to the guy that rushed for 1,400 yards?
Well, and he's probably easier more yards that way too. I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get you want to run the football. That's great. And they did. They did at that time.
See, I didn't mind the zone plays or the read option of the shotgun if they were sending him downhill. A lot of them were going side to side, which is what you're kind of talking about. You don't want that because that's when the Titans defense is better at stopping that can fly around the ball. When they were just doing straight downhill with him, it was fine. Even without a lead fullback, he was doing fine picking up 6-7 yards. When they were going the side to side, he couldn't pick a hole, and then he'd get tackled for a 1 yard gain or nothing, and it just like wasted down. It's like they didn't put their players in the best position to succeed in the second half. That's probably what was most frustrating for me.
So then here's the second thing I want to address.
Yes.
After Mariota threw the touchdown pass to himself, visibly, this team quit.
I think
when you quit, when you're up 11 points, the problem goes beyond what's happening on the field.
And do you think maybe it was just I almost call it like the Buffalo Bills effect, where I watched the 30 for 30 on the Buffalo Bills when they made 4 straight Super Bowls, and that in the fourth one when they were up at halftime, they didn't really. Most teams are up at halftime of Super Bowl. You're going, okay, how can we close this out? We're 30 minutes away from being world champions, and they were just kind of like, oh bother, here comes everything. The wide right, the Thurman Thomas losing his helmet. Do you think maybe that kind of hit in of, oh no? Because I know as a fan. And Devin was there. Maybe he can speak to it as a fan. I was going, oh, no.
Well,
here we go again.
After the Mariota touchdown, it was almost like, you know what? That was just weird. Okay, whatever. We're still up 11. But after the missed field goal, the next the possession afterwards,
that's when I got really scared.
That was like, oh, no. And then, of course, they had the touchdown. Of course, the second touchdown was the Henry touchdown, wasn't it? No, it was to Delaney Walker's first. I'm trying to look to see what the touchdown was.
Henry's was to
narrow. It was a 35-yard touchdown run, which Revis quit on. And that was really disheartening because it's a 5-point game at that point. And then you had the 2-point conversion. They failed. And then they got another touchdown to Decker, which was bad coverage by Murray. And, of course, you had another 2-point conversion, which the Chiefs fans. And the worst thing about this game was at the very end, you thought you had a 2-point conversion go your way when it really what he was. That was forward progress. We'll get to the other forward progress in a little bit. But that was forward progress to stop. So everybody in the stadium thinks we just took the lead. We were going to win this game. No. And then the Peters strip, and then he was clearly down. Derek Johnson not just recovered it, but returned it for a touchdown. Again, everybody thought, hey, we just won this game. We came back, we blew a lead, and we came back and we won it still. And that wasn't true. So I think those highs and lows made it even worse there at the end because not even recovering a fumble, you took it back for touchdowns.
And that does that to a fan base. Going back to last year when I was at the Chiefs-Steelers playoff game, and they get down 2 with 3 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go. That whole game's a blur. But anyways, they're down 2, chance to tie with 2-1 conversion. We saw the play they normally run, the bootleg out, dump it to Demetrius Harris.
Of course.
Well, it all worked except Eric Fisher got called for holding. And as soon as that happened, you could kind of feel the air in the stadium come out. Because I remember when they got that, before we saw the flag, everyone's going crazy. We're jumping up and down, hugging people you've never met before. And then as soon as I saw the flag, I thought, oh, no, here it comes. We thought we had it, and it's over.
Yeah, it was 2:43 left to go in the game when that 2-point conversion happened.
Yeah, and that's where, it's there was the same thing against the Titans. It's mental errors. Mm-hmm. It's a team that up 11 points. You look at the way that they carried themselves in the second half of that football game. Up 11. There was no fight.
Coming out of halftime.
There was
Tennessee
no fight in this football team.
I mean, you had them backed up to their own 9-yard line to start the drive. 15 plays, 91 yards, 8.5 minutes off the clock.
The 15-play drive it's a good drive. Sometimes teams lined up and they fire off good drives against your defense. But what you have to do is you have to come out on offense with a sense of urgency and play some football. There was just no fight in this team. Coming out up 11 points. When there's no fight in your team up 11, it's not what's going on the field that's the problem. It's what's behind the scenes that's the issue. It's the mental mistakes. It's the players that apparently don't feel like they're getting what they deserve. It's players that don't have any sort of that look like they have no sort of connection to this franchise.
Isn't it? Go ahead, Jacob. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things kind of maybe on that is, and this has been one of my problems with the Chiefs since Jamal Charles 3-4 years ago, is Kareem Hunt had 14 total touches. He was the league's leading rusher, and in this game had 14 total touches when Derrick Henry gets 25 and gets almost 200 scrimmage yards, and your leading rusher, 14 touches. And that kind of maybe goes to your point of the players maybe don't quite understand sometimes what's going on with the play calling and what's going on behind the scenes.
And part of that was the fact that the Chiefs ran a very, very small number of plays in the second half. Yeah.
They did not run very many drives did they? How many drives did they go 3 and out? I think they had 6 total yards in the third quarter or 9.
Well, they ran 11 plays with the lead in the second half.
Yeah, and they had how many total yards in the third quarter? I want to say it was single digit.
It was like 6 or 7. It wasn't very much.
They didn't. So they didn't get to possess the ball very long because partially the defense was tired, partially the defense had checked out. B, there was no sense of urgency offensively, none.
And one thing about the defense there is in the second half, like in the first half, they went 1 for 5 on third down conversions. That's really good by the defense. Great job. Second half, they went 7 for 8, and the one time they didn't convert was the kneel down to end the game. Like that's just disheartening if you get them in third and long and they still convert because you don't run the right package on defense. You're sitting Justin Houston back in coverage on 3rd and 5 every single time. I mean, just certain things. You can't stop a running play from gaining 6-7 yards on first down, so they're in third and manageable. I mean, it's just little things where the scheme defensively never changed and forced Mariota to beat you. It was always, hey, they're going to let Henry get 5-6 yards on first down, and all of a sudden second and third down are manageable for Mariota to convert to Delaney Walker or Eric Decker, the possession receivers and tight end he has, and it made it a lot easier for the Titans offense to stay on schedule instead of mixing things up a little bit and just make a commitment to stopping the run instead of just having your nickel and dime packages out there.
And I think that the defense from a talent and from an ability standpoint can be addressed. That's not really a lingering issue to me.
I think talent-wise, this is an above average to a decent defense. I don't think it's
well, and then
it's really good with Barry.
It can be improved. Is what I'm talking about. That's something that is easily addressed. No problem.
It's the schematic.
Well, and the scheme is one thing. Getting Bob Sutton out will help that.
Which I don't think is going to happen.
I don't think it's going to either. And I'm at that point too, where I mean, what else do they need to see? From this
5 years of it getting worse and worse and worse.
Here's my thought: is this scheme will work with the right talent. This team didn't fit the scheme this year. I think if you can draft a little bit better, you can make it fit the scheme.
Well, and if you can go out and maybe get a free agent,
even if Sutton is maybe not the best defensive coordinator, the scheme will work with the right players.
My point is, yes, you want to have your scheme, you want to run your scheme well, but if you don't have the players to run that scheme, you have to adjust as a coach to fit your players. You can't have Daniel Sorensen playing an Eric Berry role and expecting it to work.
Or Justin Houston in pass coverage.
Like after a while, like this is a system he's running for years and it works. But you know what? If your players can't run that system, it's been proven. You let Josh McCown tear your defense up one week and just certain stuff happens over and over, adjust a little bit and just a little bit of that. You don't see that. You shouldn't be +2 in a turnover battle in a playoff at home and have 21-3 lead at halftime and lose that game, and they found a way to lose it.
One of the deciding factors in Bob Sutton's defense and the way he runs defense is 2 athletic inside linebackers.
He has 1.
The issue that we ran with was nobody was willing to fizzle out Derek Johnson. Nobody was willing to take him out of that football game. 3 years ago, Derek Johnson fit perfectly in that defense.
Yes.
Not now.
2 Achilles injuries later.
He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the quickness. Ragland is going to be a star in that defense.
Well, and
Kevin Pierre-Louis is going to be good in that defense.
Johnson's capable of still being a guy, but not the guy. I mean,
but he is not. He's not the best athlete on the field.
Oh no,
he's a coverage linebacker now.
On that Bob Sutton defense, your inside linebackers have to be the best athletes on the field.
Yeah. And that the Reggie Ragland trade, what they get from a 4th?
Yep.
Yeah.
That right now go in the books as a steal just because they wouldn't have probably got a player in the 4th round that would have done even probably remotely close to what Ragland has been able to do.
Well, and Ragland's an animal. This is a guy that is not afraid to fly around and hit you in the mouth, and that's exactly what you have to have on this style of defense. This hybrid, hybrid ambush 46 defense that they're running.
Isn't it kind of fitting, though, when you look at how this season has been, that, it was such a roller coaster. You start out 5-0, and everyone's jumping on the Chiefs Super Bowl bandwagon, and then you drop a game to the Steelers, and you go, okay, they played really bad in that game. But they still had a chance to win it. Then they lose a fluky game to the Raiders, and you go, okay, there's always one game a year the Chiefs shouldn't lose, they lose. They beat the Broncos. We know they're trash, but they beat the Broncos. Then they struggle against the Cowboys team, which we anticipated because Ezekiel Elliott was playing. And then all of a sudden you drop 3 more in a row to a bad Giants team, a not very good Jets team.
And Bills.
And the Bills, and just an ugly game. And then right when we're about ready to write everything off, fire Reed, fire Sutton, trade Alex Smith, start Mahomes, move to Toronto, whatever. then all of a sudden things start getting better. You shut down Phillip Rivers after they came in red hot.
Shut down Carr.
You shut down Carr, who has never played good in Kansas City. You win an ugly game against the Dolphins. You get to see what you have in Patrick Mahomes, and you go in on a 4-game winning streak, and you're thinking, this team, they did just enough to tease you. You go, okay, this team has a chance to maybe get in the playoffs, and the defense is playing better. They have a chance. And they're up 21-3. I don't know about you guys, but I was already thinking, okay, well, then if I knew there was still a chance they'd come back, but okay, well, if Buffalo wins, then the Chiefs go to New England. If Jacksonville wins, they go to Pittsburgh. I was already kind of looking ahead to that. And then all of a sudden, that's when you hit rock bottom.
What do you look at this Tennessee team? And yes, Tennessee is a mediocre team, but this is the NFL. You know, team comes out and have a good day, they can beat anybody in the NFL. But, you know, you lose sometimes. This was a solid regular season. Yes, there was a skid in the middle where it was rough. They came back. They played the 10-6 football, and when they got to crunch time in the second half of a playoff game, the mentality wasn't there again. And at some point, you have to look higher than what's going on the field. I have never been one to, after one loss, say fire the head coach. But in this situation, with the mentality that team had, I understand that they're adults. I understand that they're hard to control. We're not dealing with college kids here, but somebody has got to be able to step up in crunch time and say, hey, we're playing ball here. We're up 11. We've got to go out and shut this game down. Nobody did that. Well, and nobody on that coaching staff, nobody on that team, nobody on that sideline did that. That tells me there needs to be a change up top.
And that's where I think not having Eric Berry might have helped too. I mean, not that would have been the difference makers. Eric Berry probably wouldn't have been able to do much in the pass rush, but I think that could have been a thing that could have helped. In this game, the injuries that happened during the game certainly didn't make it easier either. You lose Kelsey in the first half, but I believe, right, it was the first half he went out.
Yep, second quarter.
That seemed to kind of start the deflation of the team is when they lost Kelsey,
and that's,
at least on the offensive side.
These are professional football players. One guy should not ruin a game. I don't care who it is.
No. But, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, look at the Packers when they lost Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's
a quarterback.
But it's the way the game works. A lot of the Chiefs' offense is designed around Travis Kelce.
Well, part of that was because the Tennessee was dumb. They put linebackers on Kelsey every time. It's like, hey, you're an idiot. Don't do that.
I mean, and you think about if Kelsey doesn't go down in that game, that's another weapon they have late in the game.
You're throwing to him instead of Orson Charles.
Kelsey's a very dynamic weapon because he's too big for corners, but he's too fast for most linebackers to guard. And that could have been a game changer. And you take away Chris Jones, too. I believe tore his MCL, in the third quarter, if I remember correctly. Yep. And he wouldn't have been able to play this week or the rest of the season had the season continued. That's a significant loss, too. Not that it probably determined whether they won or lost, but, I mean, it seems like every time the Chiefs have a bad playoff collapse, you topple on these grueling injuries with it.
And my point with Andy Reid, he's never been a motivator. I get it. He's never been the guy to stand up in the middle of the locker room and say, hey, let's roll.
He's an X and O's guy.
But you're the head football coach. You are the man that is selected to lead this football team. At some point, when everybody else on the sideline is silent, everybody else on the sideline has given up, thrown in the towel, you have to step up. He didn't.
I'm not putting I know I'm putting this loss probably more on Andy than really anybody else, and Andy and the defensive staff here for not putting the guys. But I'm just not up. I know, like you're just saying, they need to be held accountable. I'm not for firing them because of what they've done to Kansas City the last 5 years. I mean, their worst season's 9-7. I know the Chiefs' history. It's not good. So when you have a coach like this, you have to keep it and all these losses, except for the New England one, which was by 7 points, the other are combined 4 points. I mean, it's not a whole the 3 losses. I mean, they're right there in these games.
That actually makes me feel a lot worse.
It doesn't, because I feel like we're close.
That 3 of their playoff losses are by combined 4 points.
And 2 of those were huge.
And 2 of those
comebacks.
were, blowing a combined 46 points worth of leads.
It was a 1-point loss to the Colts, 1-point loss to the Titans, and 2-point loss to the Steelers last year.
See, that's where a mentality problem comes to mind for me. And when there is a mentality that's difficult to deal with, a mentality that's bringing an entire team down, which is what's happening in the playoffs for this Kansas City Chiefs team, I understand Andy Reid's a great coach. I don't think he should be fired based on what he's done in Kansas City, but it's time for a change.
Whether it's not time for a change.
Whether it's they need a change.
But
I'm not saying they have to hire a better football coach.
Well, no, but my thing is
it's going to be difficult.
If you fire Andy Reid, who are you going to get?
I don't know, and that's not my. But my point is not get somebody better. My point is you need a change.
Which is why I think you get rid of defensive coordinator and stuff like that.
And I would agree with that because if you get rid of Andy Reid, you're also getting rid of the X's and O's brilliance that he brings. As we allude to, he's not a people guy. He's just not who he is. But when it comes to actual football minds in the NFL right now, if he's not the best, he's probably top 3 or top 5. I think sometimes Andy Reid's problem is he's too good.
He outthinks the room, and he kind of does the Peyton Manning thing in the playoffs. He kind of clenches his teeth and he gets tight, and that's a problem. But my thing is the Chiefs are close, and I know 3 of their 4 playoff losses, they had the worst quarterback. This one, they probably had him and Mario at this point in their careers. I'd take Smith, so that's why this one's a little even worse for me. But like the other ones, they lost to Luck, who was playing really well at the time. Luck was better than Smith at that time. You also had lost to Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger. Everybody loses them in the playoffs.
I think there's,
and if you're that close and you're on the brink, you just don't cut everything, because that's how you turn into the Cleveland Browns. You fire good head coaches to try to get better, and you go from a 8 or 9 head coach to a 4, and you bury the franchise.
Just to play devil's advocate
yes.
here. Close doesn't win titles.
No, it
Close
doesn't.
doesn't win rings. And in a league that's all about sales, that's all about money, rings is what you want.
But firing a coach who's gone
2-win seasons don't make you money either. At least
You're not guaranteed that. If you bring in a new coach,
I've seen it. I've seen it too many times.
But how many times have you seen firing a close coach and bringing in a Super Bowl winning coach?
I saw it after Schottenheimer. We hired other coaches, and it did not work.
But my thing is who are they going to get? Because aside from, there's only one guy I can think of that if they fired Andy Reid right now and somehow was able to get him to come here, I would be actually really excited for. And that's the guy, and that's Jim Harbaugh. And there's no way Jim Harbaugh is going to leave Michigan for the Chiefs.
My question is, why does it have to be a guy with a super huge pedigree?
It doesn't, but it's a gamble, and we've seen how the Chiefs are when it comes to gambles. We all about fell over when they drafted Mahomes.
I mean, I don't understand this whole. I know Reid was not great in the playoff game, but my point is, you see this too many times in current landscape of stuff. You get close, and then you fire your coach thinking, hey, we can get something better. And then you turn to the San Diego Chargers, who went from 14-2 Schottenheimer and never getting back there again. You see this again and again in trying to go from an 8 to a 10 coach. And you know what? Bill Belichick doesn't live everywhere. That's what happened to the SEC with Nick Saban. Everyone's trying to get Nick Saban, and guess what? That's how you live up with Butch Jones.
And now everyone's comparing themselves to Nick Saban, and you've had a lot of good coaches in the SEC.
And when you fire a successful coach like Andy Reid, other coaches don't trust your management, and they don't want to go there and be in a successful thing because they don't trust you. Like, hey, Andy Reid's won 53 games in 5 years, and they fired him.
Here's my question.
Yeah, you get the Nebraska effect, as I call it.
At some point, you have to be done accepting being close, and you have to take a shot. At some point. You can't sit around, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs organization, and it may not be now, it may be 2 years from now, but you cannot sit around and be okay with being close for the rest of your franchise history. No. It can't happen. But sometime they have to take a shot.
The thing you look at now is you look at the development. I mean, they drafted Patrick Mahomes because of Andy Reid being there.
Yes.
If you fire Andy Reid, and I know that's not what you're saying they should do, but if you fire Andy Reid, and who knows who you bring in now, you're potentially compromising the development of Patrick Mahomes. Now, 2 years from now, let's say 2019, after Mahomes has played 2 years, and let's say in 2019 the Chiefs go 12-4, something like that, get the 2 seed, same story, can't close one out, team quits, then I think you can maybe legitimately make the argument saying, okay, we're good where we're at with the team. We have a developed quarterback. We have a running back who's starting to hit the prime. We have a tight end who's probably towards the end of his prime. Who knows where Eric Berry will be at by that point. Then maybe you could say that. I would have to say at least 1 more year, maybe 2 more years.
My problem is that we've been saying 1 more year for the last 4 years.
He has a 4-year extension that starts this year. I mean, they're not getting ready. He's probably going to retire after this 4 years anyways.
And if they wouldn't have drafted Patrick Mahomes, I might be in the same boat as you. But to me,
I get that they're not going to fire Andy Reid. I get that that's not going to happen.
Because you look at the Bucs. I mean, Lovie Smith drafts Jameis Winston, and Jameis showed promise his first year. I mean, he wasn't great, but he showed promise. I think they started out like 1-9 and finished 6-10, something like that. Well, that wasn't good enough, so they fire him. They did elevate his offensive coordinator, Dirk Cotter, but then since then it hasn't been the same for him. And that's why they won't do it, is because it could potentially kill the confidence of a young quarterback, and that could really, really set the franchise back a long time if they do that.
And just one more thing I want to say to everybody. Hey, I don't think Alex is back in Kansas City next year. We'll broach that topic at another time. But the top 4 quarterbacks graded out by Pro Football Focus for the Wild Card Weekend. Number 4 was Marcus Mariota, an 81.7. Number 3 was Drew Brees, an 84.3. Cam Newton, 84.6. And number 1, Alex Smith, an 87.3. Most of that was because of his first half that was really, really good. But still, he was not the main problem there. There was so many combining issues there. I'm not putting it all on the quarterback that he was the issue there. We're going to get to more next week, I think, more with Alex Smith and what the Chiefs can do with him. And, of course, going into the future, this is more of just recapping everything that happened in the wild card round, everything that happened that went wrong there. Then we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have the AFC playoff picture and just kind of see what happens. Everything going on there with the teams not in Kansas City that are still in the playoffs. And 1 second, because my computer is updating, because it's updating every 3 seconds. So, and welcome back into the weekend sports kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan, Elliott, Jacob Blair, and Trevor Maeder. We got the NFL playoffs still going on, as much as we don't want them to. As Chiefs fans, they still continue as they do every year. We'll start in the AFC Saturday, 7 o'clock. Titans at the Patriots. The Patriots are a 13.5-point favorite. Does anyone really want to watch this game?
Not really.
Going to.
I may or may not, depending on what else is on Saturday night. There's some good college basketball, and so I might not. I'll check the score, and then laugh when it's like one or two things. It'll be either ha ha ha, Tennessee's getting beat by 30, or holy cow, they're keeping the game. Do you remember last year when the Patriots played the Texans with Brocky Brock and the Dumpster Bunch? Didn't Houston lead that game at halftime or something like that? I remember
it was close.
Yeah, and they were up like 14-7 when I'm going, oh my goodness. I'm like, if Brock Osweiler can beat the Patriots and the Chiefs can beat the Steelers, the Chiefs are going to get Brock Osweiler the AFC Championship game at home, and then obviously none of that ever happened.
It was 17-13 at halftime.
Were they up or down?
New England was up.
What the final end? It'd be like 34-13 or
34-16.
Okay, I knew it was something like that.
So, yeah. But yeah, I'm taking the Patriots in this one. And
quiz show out of that.
And I don't know if I'll take the points or not. That's a close one because I think the Titans might get the backdoor cover because the Patriots will maybe take off the second half like, hey, maybe not take off like the Chiefs did, but at that point be like New England wins by 13 or something like that. So Titans might be able to run the ball enough to keep it away from New England, but New England's just too good, and I don't believe the Titans are that good of a team anyways. So
here's my thought.
Yep.
I'm picking the Patriots, first
yes.
of all. But if there was a year, if there were to be a year when Brady goes down in the divisional round to a team that he really shouldn't have, it's this year.
That's fair.
You mean you want to see a Titans-Jaguars AFC Championship game? Because
fantastic.
I do.
That would be great.
A la 1999.
And you know what? If that's the case, both of those teams earned it. Both of those teams belong there.
Yep.
If you beat the Patriots and Steelers in the divisional round,
on the road,
both of those teams belong there. Absolutely. But I'm picking the Patriots because it's hard to pick against Tom Brady, but I'm hoping. Man, if there's a year, this is the one.
I mean, if you look at it, their defense isn't that good. You look at yards. I know points per game, they're usually pretty good because they're good situationally, but yards per game, they're not good at all, and Tom Brady's been playing poorly by his standards for the last month and a half.
That's an interesting point is the last 3 years or so, Brady's kind of taken a downtick in the playoffs or around playoff time, and so just a thought.
And I'm going to go ahead and say I think the Patriots do cover. I think they win big, but I'm going to go with just a thought here too. Everyone always talks about how tough it is to go into Foxborough in January and win. Can either one of you guys name both quarterbacks that have done it?
Sanchez and
Flacco. Okay.
Nice.
Peyton Manning hasn't done it. Ben Roethlisberger hasn't done it.
Smith hadn't done
Alex Smith couldn't do it. I think Byron Leftwich tried to do it. He couldn't do it, but I mean, it was Byron Leftwich. Phillip Rivers, he couldn't do it. So, I mean, if anyone can do it, maybe Marcus Mariota or, dare I say, Blake Bortles could potentially do it, but I don't think it'll happen. I think New England wins. I think they win big.
Yeah, one thing right here, RJ Bell tweeted out in 2015, the first 14 games, only 2 games for Tom Brady with passer rating below 50. In the final 4 games, he had 3 that were below 90. 2016 entire regular season threw 2 interceptions. In the playoffs, 3 games, he threw 3 interceptions. And this year, the first 10 games, he threw 1 pick. The last 6, he threw 6 interceptions. So maybe age is getting to Brady a little more later in the year, less time to recover, but I don't think it's going to affect him much this week because he has a bye week. But I think it could in the championship game possibly affect him, and that less rest time for that 40-year-old body might be able to affect him. Yes.
This is as bad a Patriots defense as we've seen in a long time.
Yes.
Talent-wise. What's sad is statistically, it's not a bad defense, but you watch that defense and you're like, this ain't the...
And a lot of that's in the brain of the offense. If you're an opposing offense, you see this defense, you go, oh, I got a chance here. That's going to affect a lot more than a lot of people think it is. Sometimes, we get a little bit too into the analytics sometimes. Sometimes we can look at the stats a little too much. A lot of the time, it's a lot simpler than that. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, it's if you look at a defense as a quarterback or as an opposing offense and you go, oh, yeah, this is going to be fun, then odds are you're going to have a pretty good game.
We saw that week 1.
No matter no matter what the statistics look at, if you're standing in front of this defense and you're looking around going, all right,
not a lot of dudes in that defense.
Then it's going to be a good game.
So I have the Patriots also winning big in this game, but the one DeMarco Murray is out for this game again, and with what we saw last week with Derrick Henry, I feel like Derrick Henry could run over this Patriots defense. And
I don't think Murray's going to have a job.
And that's
I think New England's
one question is if Tennessee can control the time of possession, run over New England with Derrick Henry,
running game and defense,
stay in the game and hold the Patriots
to a 22-21 game.
Well, and I think as bad as New England is on defense, I think they're better in the pass than they are the rush.
That's wrong. They're 29th overall, 30th against the pass, and 20th against the run.
That's a
but
bad
5th
defense.
in scoring defense.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense at all, it doesn't.
Time of possession with the offense,
but
probably.
See, this is what I'm saying. If you're Marcus Mariota, you're going into this game going, I've got a shot, folks.
This will be really interesting. This could be the game that really this postseason, regardless of how it ends, if the Titans go out tomorrow and win, even if they lose next week to Pittsburgh or Jacksonville, this could be that game that kind of elevates Marcus Mariota into not necessarily maybe the elite status, but right there on the cusp of it.
I don't think there's any question. Marcus Mariota is a good quarterback.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt that either. And you look at the season he had last year before he got hurt, and there were a lot of people that thought he would break through this year. And really this year, he had kind of the same season that Alex Smith did last year.
He's a quarterback that's starting in the NFL. Of course he's a good quarterback. Well, he can't be a bad quarterback starting in the NFL.
There isn't.
I saw Tyrod Taylor and Blake Bortles play last week, though, so you can't tell me
neither of those guys are bad quarterbacks. They're just not as good as the rest of the NFL quarterbacks.
We'll get more to that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get more to that in a minute. But, yeah, I think, as you said, if they can keep it low scoring a little more and just take the ball, the best defense against Tom Brady is your offense, keeping him on the sidelines. So that's one thing you can do. And the Titans are known for getting a little bit of a pass rush. If you can get into his face a little bit with some interior pressure and put him on his butt a couple times, you might be able to change the game. But also, we saw last week Tennessee has a tough time guarding tight ends, and New England has a pretty good one in Gronk. So that's another issue to deal with there. I'll go next game, Jaguars. I'm guessing we're all taking the Patriots, by the way.
Yeah.
Consensus?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to take the Titans so bad.
Well, we know you're taking this next pick.
Yeah, my pick is I'm picking the Patriots, but look out for the Titans.
Jaguars at Steelers. Steelers are a touchdown favorite in this one. The over-under is about 41. Trevor and Jacob, I'll let you guys go first. I know what you guys are going to take here, but...
You want to go first? Let me go first.
You can go first,
like
Trevor.
Spider-Man seeing himself.
I'm going to say Saxonville goes to Pittsburgh this week. I don't care if Blake Bortles is playing quarterback. I don't care if Mark Brunell comes back.
Travels, my friend.
I don't care if Mark Brunell comes back and plays quarterback. I don't care if Doug Marrone himself gets out there and plays quarterback. That'd be interesting to see, by the way. But defense travels. You look at these teams that win in the playoffs. How many times when you meet a great offense against a great defense, doesn't matter who the quarterback is, how many times does that great offense win? Very rarely. You go back to Super Bowl 50, you have the great Panthers offense against a great Broncos defense. Who won? The Broncos defense.
Quarterback play was even.
2013, it wasn't even close to even. You had a crippled Peyton Manning out there against Cam Newton, who was that year the best quarterback in the NFL. 2013, same thing. You have Peyton Manning, who's the best quarterback in the NFL, and this explosive Broncos offense. And Russell Wilson, who at that point was just a game manager, really. I mean, he wasn't what he is, but a great defense. Who won that game? Defense. There's tons of other examples. I won't dive into them because we'd be here all day. But I like Jacksonville. I think they can put pressure on Big Ben and make him make mistakes. And the one thing, too, is you got to think about Pittsburgh didn't play their starters in Week 17. Then they had a bye week. So these guys have not played an actual game since Christmas Day. That is almost three weeks off. I'm not sure Antonio Brown's 100% healthy. Plus, I read something today where he's battling an illness, so he'll be battling that on top. Jalen Ramsey's maybe the best corner in the NFL. I think he can contain him. And I think Jacksonville wins a very ugly football game, something like 17-13. And I'll love every minute of it because the Steelers will get beat.
Yeah, this game will probably be a game of field goals. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of touchdown scoring. But to speak on Trevor's point, the Jacksonville defense is really, really good. And even last week in probably one of the most boring football games I've ever sat through half of, you just watch Jacksonville's defense, and they can carry a mediocre offense and Blake Bortles. And I think in a game of field goals where Jacksonville will just probably kick one more field goal than Pittsburgh will.
When I want to take it, because I'm going to pick the Jags too. I want to take it another step along with that is that, we've seen a lot of good defenses over the years in the NFL. We've seen a lot of really good defenses over the years in the NFL. I haven't seen one yet that can own a football game the way the Jaguars defense can. You have to go back to the purple people eaters, back to the steel curtain, back to the no-name defense.
I don't think the Jaguars are the best defense left in the playoffs.
Before you can see, but that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
The Jaguars are not the best defense, but they're the most dynamic.
Okay.
They're the playmaking defense.
They're
the defense that can absolutely take over and own a football game.
Swag.
And the Minnesota defense can't quite do that, even though they're better overall.
I think the 2000 Baltimore Ravens are kind of what this.
That too.
I think the Vikings are more of like the 0-2 Bucks, where it's a really good defense that can also create plays, but they don't take over a game, and they have a better offense. But this Jacksonville team a defense that's capable of totally taking over a game.
I would argue that it's been since that 2000 Ravens defense that we've seen a defense that can just own a football game the way this Jaguars.
Because I've always thought the 2015 Broncos defense maybe a little overrated as far as it wasn't great in the regular season, but it got hot in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you, Devin, that the Minnesota defense overall is better than this Jaguars defense. I'll give you that every day of the week. But there's no way that in a playmaking, as from a playmaking standpoint, that you can put that Minnesota defense ahead of Jacksonville.
Just one question. What does Pittsburgh do best?
Run the ball.
And the Jaguars do have the 21st ranked run defense, which could be an issue versus Le'Veon Bell.
We're looking at two totally different stats. Because one side they said they had the 12th best run defense.
Well, it's 21st.
So
I'm looking right here on ESPN, rushing yards per game.
Oh, I was on NFL.com. I was looking. I don't know if it was. I think I was looking at total defense.
Yeah, total defense. Yes, they're up there, but I'm talking about rush defense. They can struggle with that. Last time Pittsburgh played them, they didn't use Le'Veon Bell. They didn't use him enough. That was kind of like Andy Reid with Kareem Hunt in the playoff game versus the Titans. They didn't use Kareem Hunt enough, and it really showed because all the Big Ben had to go against that really good secondary. But if Pittsburgh, I think they can control the line of scrimmage and keep that going. I don't think Blake Bortles can handle the pressure either in this game. He barely handled it last week versus Buffalo. I just don't see how Jacksonville wins this game with Blake Bortles in Pittsburgh. I just don't see it. Like last week was a home game. You still only put 10 points up on Buffalo Bills. I know that defense played really well at home, but it's a different animal with the triple Bs. I know Antonio Brown's not feeling the best right now. He went home sick.
And I know
4 Bs. What? And Boswell, okay. Yeah, it's the kicker too, but Smith-Schuster's more important than him. But yeah,
Boswell might be the best kicker in the NFL this year.
So I just think the Steelers have too much for Jacksonville. I think it's going to be a good game, but I just think Pittsburgh with Big Ben, when in doubt, take the quarterback. I know the defense matters, but at the same point, you have home field plus a better quarterback. I'm taking the Steelers.
Here's where I look. Is if Pittsburgh can show up and control the line of scrimmage and run the football, then it's Pittsburgh all the way, without a doubt. But if they give that Jacksonville defense anything at all to be excited about, they better be worried. They better be scared.
I'm going to go
because if they give Jacksonville anything to be excited about, then that defense will take over.
It can torpedo down, yeah.
Well, I think with Jacksonville too, I think what you got to do is
domino effect.
You got to probably, if you don't get a defensive touchdown, the defense has to make a play to give your offense a short field.
And if you're one of those triple Bs, you better not turn the ball over.
Yeah.
You better not. Which is something that those three players are all very good at, is keeping control of the football. But
Brown and Bell are. Roethlisberger has the tendency to sometimes make mistakes.
But you better not turn the ball over.
So what I'm getting is everybody here is picking Jaguars, Patriots for the championship game. I'm picking Patriots, Steelers.
And honestly,
I don't know what Joe, you taking the Steelers over there?
And yours is the most logical pick, but doesn't this just seem like a year?
I like the TV guys over there, by the way.
Well,
they're smart dudes.
Here's what I'm saying is
it just makes too much sense.
Right. And honestly,
what's wrong with common sense is a thing still.
Honestly,
Yes.
Pittsburgh
Yes.
overall is the better football team in
yeah.
this situation. But situationally, if they don't play, and this is me banking on them coming out and they're going to make a few mistakes. If they show up and make a few mistakes,
Which you're always banking on an NFL game, who makes the most mistakes. And I just can't, if it's a close game, I just can't within me take Blake Bortles to make better decisions than Big Ben late. Even if it's against those certain defenses, I just can't trust Blake Bortles in that game late, as I could with Big Ben, to take a 2-minute drive, take him down the field, and throw a touchdown pass where they don't drop it. I mean, that's what I trust Pittsburgh more to make that pick there than I would Jacksonville, and I think it should be a good game. And I think if either one of these two teams win, they have a decent chance against New England because of the style of football they play.
I think if Jacksonville wins, I think Jacksonville's got a legitimate chance against New England,
man,
we've seen how Pittsburgh played New England this year, and they probably should have won that game. But the way you beat Brady in the playoffs is you put pressure on them and you run the ball down their throat, which is what Jacksonville does perfectly well. They're built by a guy who won 2 Super Bowls doing that. So
yep.
I think Jacksonville has a much better matchup against New England than they do Pittsburgh, but you got to get through that first.
One thing real quick that we haven't talked about yet is, I know this was week 5, but Jacksonville already took apart this Pittsburgh team.
30-9, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 39. It was week 5, but since that game, there's been every couple weeks something coming out of that Pittsburgh locker room saying they want revenge on this Jacksonville team. And one concern I have for Pittsburgh is, have they overthought this matchup?
Well, did you read what Mike Mitchell said? Or did you guys catch what Mike Mitchell said earlier this week?
They're for New England.
Yeah, they're ready for New England.
See, that's the one thing I don't like about Pittsburgh. They look ahead too much. They play too much emotion.
That's where that back of the head effect can come into play. Is I talked about Mariota standing in front of a defense and going, "Oh boy, here we go." If you look at both Jacksonville standing in front of Pittsburgh and going, "We've done this once, why not do it again?" And Pittsburgh standing in front of Jacksonville going, 30-9 in the back of their head. And it can work both ways too. But I think you favor in that category, in that mental category, the advantage goes to Jacksonville here.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely possible. So we'll see what happens.
There have
this
been
weekend.
worse quarterbacks that have won playoff games they shouldn't have.
Who?
Rex Grossman.
Trent Dilfer
Better than Bortles.
Dieter Brock.
Better than Bortles.
Would you take
Bortles is awful.
Well, this isn't the Super Bowl either,
Would
so.
you take Dieter Brock? You don't
Who?
even know exactly.
He's still not better than Blake Bortles. I've seen Blake Bortles play. He's not very good.
I would take Blake.
He threw for 84 yards against the Bills defense
all
at
he
home.
That's
That's all he needed.
Oh my God!
Winning ugly is totally
He
fun.
won, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Bingo.
Yeah, he did. He has a
Oh,
better
really?
winning position. Blake Bortles facts, undefeated in the playoffs. I get it.
Ball
Twitter.
don't lie, Devin.
Ball don't lie. Ball don't lie. We're going to take a break, come back with the NFC after one song and a legal here on the weekend. Sports Kickoff. As we are back here in the weekend, Sports Kickoff, I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott, Jacob Blair, and Trevor Maeder, all the Jaguars fans in the studio today.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. When we started the show back in September, never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be in here in January actually talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars being in the AFC Championship game.
And having a legit chance to be there.
If I would have
I'll turn your mic on now,
Yeah,
Ryan.
thanks, man. There's every chance in the world, man. It's
Yep.
great.
If I would have said in September the Jaguars are going to make the AFC Championship game, you guys probably would have had me committed to a mental hospital.
And here's the
I
bottom
still
line.
do, but
And
it's
you, and you still
You get to the playoffs, the difference between these teams is minuscule. Absolutely minuscule. I don't care who it is.
And in the NFL, it's tough to win every game.
Yes.
Exactly.
I mean, every you go into every game on a game by game basis.
So every playoff game's a toss-up.
And one of the fun things about
Absolutely
this
every
year's
game.
playoffs is 8 of the 12 teams were not from last year. It's
Yeah.
a completely new set of teams.
Well,
It's
yeah, the Chiefs
all
are
young
gone.
new
Yeah, especially when you look at the
players.
Well, that's the only thing. That's
So now the
normal.
Chiefs are gone, so only 3 of the teams from last year's team are still in.
You look at the teams that are in it this year. Okay, how many did we really expect to be your Titans? I didn't think they'd make a divisional round. Patriots, Steelers might be the only 2. The Falcons don't. There was a point this year where I didn't see it. The Falcons probably the team that surprised me the third least. But like Jacksonville, we didn't see it. Tennessee, we didn't see it. New Orleans, I didn't see it.
LA caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean,
make
they're
the
out.
playoffs alone,
They're
yeah.
out, but I was incredibly impressed with the way LA played.
Maybe to see how that works next year.
Well, we'll go with the NFC playoffs now, which is one I'm more excited in because I actually like all those teams over there now. NBC on the afternoon on Saturday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the Falcons at the Eagles. The Atlanta Falcons are the road guys. 3-point favorites. First time ever the one seed's been has been a home dog in their first playoff game. So that's what happens when you have Carson Wentz to Nick Foles. Nothing wrong with Nick Foles, but Carson Wentz is special, which is what that line changed him. I think if Wentz was playing, it'd be like a 7 or 8 point favorite for the Eagles. That's how much of a difference he's making in Vegas for this playoff game. What do you guys think? I know the Eagles have the better defense, better D-line, but the Falcons have the better quarterback, the better offense in general. What do you guys think in this one?
You go ahead, Trevor.
I'm taking the Falcons. Not going to lie, I really, really like how they've played the last 6 or 7 weeks. This team is kind of shaping up like that team last year. I don't think their offense is quite as explosive, but they're playing great. Their last 6 games, they played the Vikings, Saints, Bucks, Saints, Panthers, Rams. They've given up 14, 17, 21, 23, 10, and 13.
The defense is fast.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, guys. They might be my favorite to make the Super Bowl. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, and if there's one fan base that's maybe just as miserable as Chiefs fans, it is Eagles fans.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Minnesota's right up there,
Vikings
too, in Buffalo.
fan, yeah.
So what about you?
I have the Falcons winning this game. I just do not trust a Nick Foles-led Eagles team. They haven't looked nearly impressive enough with him, and even in the Week 17 matchup against Dallas, they went ahead and they even though they I think second half benched everybody, benched some guys the whole game, they looked absolutely horrific.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
6-0.
And then you go through a week where you get a bye week, and then you have a Falcons team that just looks like they're playing really well. They're hitting their stride right now. And I came up on an interesting stat where the Falcons are 11-0 this year when scoring 20-plus points. They're 0-6 if they don't. I think they score those 20 points and take care of the Eagles.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Foles doesn't have to play fantastic for the Eagles to win this football game, and that's where I think the beauty of it is that Foles can play mediocre, and the Eagles will still have a pretty good chance. And when it comes down to it, the Eagles have the better defense, and if they've got a chance, I'm taking the defense every day of the week.
Okay. Yes, that's the one thing I'm worried about in this game is the Eagles' front line dominating the Falcons' offensive line and making it tough for Matt Ryan to find Sanu and Julio Jones and getting Freeman and Coleman going in the running game. So that's the one thing I worry about in this game. I think the Falcons are playing enough here. They can limit Nick Foles in that offense for Philly in that running game. If they can slow down that enough, I know it's on the road, so it's going to be out in the elements, a dome team out in the road. You always kind of question that sometimes, but I just think that the Falcons are the better team right now. If Carson Wentz was playing this game, I'd take the Eagles, no doubt about it at all. But the Falcons are playing so well right now, it's hard for me to go against them. So I'll take the Falcons, and I think they're still fueled by last year's Super Bowl collapse there. So I think they're going to be fueled enough to win this game on the road in Philly and have a chance to play in a dome game, the championship game.
And with Atlanta, there's a lot of these players. I know they lost some guys, but a lot of these players played all playoffs last year.
Yep.
The Eagles, they haven't been in the playoffs for a while, so a lot of those guys are
experience factor.
It's going to be their first playoff game.
And that's a valid point. And I think one of the things that you look at here is and with this and every other playoff game is this is going to be a fun football game.
Mm-hmm.
This is and we were talking about this during the break. Every game is a toss up, man. It's in this NFL playoff season, every game is a toss up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a fantastic football game, and I'm not going to be mad if I'm the only one that picked the Eagles and the Falcons win, because it's going to be a great football game.
All right, I'm going to go to Caleb and Joe over there. You guys are paying attention. Index finger up, you're taking the Falcons, and then nothing, you're taking the Eagles. So Caleb's taking the Falcons and Joe the Eagles. Okay, so you got a friend over there. You got a friend in Joe.
What about Brett?
Brett's
in there.
Finger up, you're taking the Falcons. Finger up or no? Are you taking the Falcons? Okay, you're taking the Falcons. You don't have a friend, Brett. Sorry. All right, so that's what we have over there. We'll go to the last game of the weekend. Also be the last game overall on Fox Sunday afternoon. Saints at Vikings. In my opinion, this is the NFC Championship game. I think these two teams are the best two teams left from the NFC. In my opinion, Vikings are a 5-point favorite at home. What do you guys think of this one? I'm going to take the Vikings in this one. I think their defense is good enough to limit Drew Brees enough. And I think Case can get enough done with the weapons he has around him on offense to score enough points to beat the Saints in a really close game.
Yeah, I'm taking the Vikings. We talk about defense travels. It doesn't even have to here. Vikings at home, and I think that they're going to be the first team in NFL history to host a Super Bowl that they're in.
You have a friend of me now. It's okay.
And I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings. I think their defense is just that good, and
Purple people
defense
eaters.
wins that ball game.
Yeah, I've got the Vikings as well in this one, and to go along with you, the defense of this Vikings team, it's right up there with one of the best in the league, right there with Jacksonville and some of the other top defenses. But I think they'll slow down that Drew Brees offense enough. They'll score just enough points to win the game. The game's going to be close. I think it's going to be probably within a field goal. But
yeah, absolutely.
The Vikings will keep Drew Brees off the field and keep that offense slowed down just enough to end up winning this football game and head on to a home field NFC Championship game.
Trevor?
I'm going to be different.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm taking the Saints.
I respect that, Drew
It would have
Brees.
been funny
I'm
if you
taking
said
the-
I'm going to be different and then he picked the Vikings.
I'm taking the Saints over the Vikings for the exact opposite reasons of why I didn't pick the Steelers. So there's really no logic here.
I did the same thing. I picked Pittsburgh and Big Ben, but I picked
But
Keenum and
my thing
Vikings.
is about every year there's one team that it becomes everyone's Super Bowl darling that just craps their pants come playoff time. I mean, last year it was the Green Bay Packers. Grant, they won a playoff game, and everyone was just kind of already thinking they'd beat Atlanta, and they went in and got spanked. I mean, so I
Not
just
spanked.
I have to.
Spanked.
I haven't seen anything from Case Keenum that makes me say he can. And the difference between him and Blake Bortles is their defense is Keenum has a better defense, but I feel like Bortles' defense makes more plays that can give them scoring opportunities. I'm not sure that Minnesota can do that,
How about getting off the field on third down?
and that could definitely help them.
They've allowed 51 third down conversions all year.
But they beat
not very many.
No,
not
it's
very
three
many.
a game.
That's 3 a game. That's pretty darn good. But they beat New Orleans earlier this year, and that was a different New Orleans team. But at the same time, this was probably a different Minnesota
It
team.
was week
too.
1. Bradford played, and he threw for 346 yards and
Yeah.
3 touchdowns.
So the Saints defense has gotten better since then.
And now they had Dalvin Cook.
But this could actually
that's
be a low scoring game. But I like the combination of Kamara and Ingram, and I like the experience of Drew Brees. Whereas Drew Brees isn't quite like Ben Roethlisberger, where there's plays that Roethlisberger's kind of a gunslinger, and he can make some stupid plays. You don't see Drew Brees do that a lot.
Extremely efficient.
Yeah, Drew Brees he's almost kind of like what Peyton Manning was, where he's not gonna make a lot of stupid plays. He's gonna be efficient, and he'll do what he needs to do, but he won't gamble. And I like the Saints to go in and win a close one. Plus, until I see a Super Bowl host team make it, I can't pick
Better
it.
believe it.
I don't think it's gonna happen. Give me
Also,
the Saints.
you mentioned that week 1 game. The teams are so different. The Vikings, they had Bradford starting at quarterback and Dalvin Cook at running back, and the Saints also had Adrian Peterson at running back as well, and they didn't use Kamara and Ingram as much. So, and they only threw the ball to Michael Thomas. He had 5 catches for 45 yards. That's not probably going to be the case unless Xavier Rhodes is a really, really good corner for the Vikings. So, I just think the Vikings, their defense is good enough, plus you look at their offensive weapons to attack the Saints. When you have Thielen and Diggs on the outside to pair with McKinnon and Murray running the ball, McKinnon out of the backfield as well, and Rudolph over the middle at tight end, they just have so many weapons. I just see it hard for the Saints to stop all those for the Vikings, even with Case Keenum at quarterback. I think both these teams are dome teams, so it's not as big of a deal there, but I think the Vikings just have just enough with that defense is just so good to limit what the Saints do the best and win the game.
I think the Panthers' offense is probably better than the Vikings' offense, and they were able to, I don't want to say contain the Panthers offense, but they were able to beat them and put pressure on them. So I don't know. I mean, the playoffs are a weird animal because it's all about who gets hot at the right time.
I mean, the Panthers did score 26 points and Cam Newton threw for 300 yards, so I don't know.
But
I
at one
gotta-
point, that was like an 18-point game or a 15-point game, something like that.
At some point, I got to go with the D2 kid and Adam Thielen, and you gotta go with it.
Yep. So it should be fun. I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend, by the way. I
think so,
love
too.
this game. I think it was hard for me to choose because I love Drew Brees, and I want to see him win another Super Bowl. But they're just running into a buzzsaw right now. That is the Vikings defense. So I think it's going to be a really fun game, though.
Real quick.
Yes.
I know you run the show, Devin, but I want to pose a question to everybody.
Ask away.
As of right now, in this playoff picture, what's your Super Bowl?
I'll let Trevor go first.
Oh, why you gotta let me go
that was
first?
quick. You immediately pushed that off of yourself and on to Trevor.
I'm gonna go way back to a Super Bowl matchup that we have not seen since last year: Patriots Falcons.
Way back. You're going getting into your time machine and clicking
back to
365.
February 3rd of 2017.
Turn to the NBA. Jeez, Jacob.
Well, before the playoffs started, while we were all
Don't care
on,
about before the
all,
playoffs
all on, while we were all on break. Yeah,
Spit it out.
yeah. I was sitting there going, I really think it's going to be Minnesota and Jacksonville. I don't know why I said that
Wouldn't that be
before
so
the
much
playoffs
fun?
started, but I'm going to stick with that. I think Minnesota and Jacksonville. That's going to be.
Would that not be
You know
so
what's
much fun,
You know what's
though?
sad is, so if that happens, and I would be totally complacent with that, is if it's Minnesota-Jacksonville, I should root for Minnesota, but I have enough friends that are Vikings fans that I just know how happy they would be.
And you love Blake Bortles.
And no, it's not about love Blake Bortles.
Yes, you do.
But I have so many friends that are Minnesota fans that I would almost want them to suffer as
I
much
can't have
as
them be
I've
the first team to
suffered.
go 0-5 in the Super Bowl.
I'm fine with that. Like I don't know many Jacksonville Jaguar
great.
fans.
Isn't Trent, was in radio last semester?
Maybe.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's one person.
I don't think there are very many.
Yeah,
Jacksonville
well, they're not very many Jacksonville fans in Jacksonville.
yeah.
I mean, so that's one person. I can deal with him.
But so
What about you?
Would Jacksonville, Minnesota not be so much fun though? Because you would look back like 6-7 years and go, "There's absolutely no way."
When Blake Bortles and
This
Case
will
Keenum were playing against each other in the American Athletic.
ever happen.
Okay, so 1 second. Who's winning your Super Bowl, Patriots or Falcons?
Actually, I'm gonna go Jaguars Falcons.
Okay, whatever. Who you have winning it?
I'm gonna take the Falcons.
Minnesota.
Okay, Minnesota, Jacksonville's making the Super Bowl guaranteed apparently for the show.
No,
Ryan.
I'm looking at Vikings Patriots. I think that Jacksonville's going to get so close and going to have it ripped away from them. But I think Minnesota finally gets it done over Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
All right, I have something. I have the Vikings win the Super Bowl, but over the Pittsburgh Steelers in that one. I think it's be a fun game. I think Pittsburgh upsets New England in the AFC Championship game. They get after Tom Brady, and then Minnesota at home field gets them that win in the Super Bowl, and they finally get that curse over with. There, they've already been the most successful team with the Super Bowl in their home stadium. So I like the Vikings to win the Super Bowl. Sorry, Jacksonville, don't have them making the Super Bowl in this one. And like half our co-hosts,
the most-
it is a fun topic. I know, and I'm sure the national hosts around the world will be just squirming like we have to talk about Jacksonville for 2
You know
weeks.
what? I want.
If Jacksonville and Minnesota are in the Super Bowl, do any Jacksonville fans show up?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
that
It's going to
game.
be real cold, man.
Or is that entire stadium
Yes,
filled
and
with
under their
purple?
jerseys will be Warriors jerseys, and
It is an indoor stadium, but it's going to be tough to get there. So the beautiful part about football and the beautiful part about the NFL is that honestly, any one of the 8 teams that are still alive has a reasonable chance to make the Super Bowl. That's the beautiful part about football.
okay.
I want to see Blake Bortles, Case Keenum.
1 second. Our producers on the other side wanted to put their opinion. Caleb, he says Steelers Saints, Steelers win, or if it's not that, it's gonna be Steelers Vikings and Steelers win anyway. So
Don't get 2 choices.
so
Come
Steelers-
on now.
Steelers win Super Bowl, and,
So Steelers are half of the NFC. Yeah.
and Joe is saying Pittsburgh over Minnesota in the Super Bowl. So both of our TV producers say
Steelers.
Pittsburgh wins the Super Bowl. I have them making the Super Bowl, but not being
Well,
Minnesota.
yeah, of course,
So,
Caleb picked the Steelers.
yeah, we're not surprised. And honestly, the Chiefs are still here. I would do the homer pick probably
Yeah,
because I'm an
well,
idiot.
So one of my friends and I
Nothing wrong with
last
that.
weekend we decided we would do our Super Bowl picks just for fun, and we both ended up crapping our pants.
Please tell
this
me you
week.
picked Chiefs Rams.
I had Chiefs Panthers.
Oh,
He had Rams Patriots.
That'd have been great.
So we went a whopping 1 for 4, and just in that, I think I had Chiefs
That's
Patriots in the
beautiful.
AFC Championship game.
It's so sad. I'm so sad with everything.
Eh.
But it's okay.
We're so far removed.
It's okay.
Now, it's
But
fine.
you know what? Now the playoffs, I can watch it with no bias. I can just
and
watch it.
that's-
I can
and that's
enjoy
where
it.
I'm at, too.
My emotions won't get my heart won't get ripped from my chest again. It's just one time. It's over.
Now
It's
my
fine.
second
One
and
time it's-
third, I call my third and fourth favorite teams are playing now because it's the Chiefs, and it goes whoever's playing the Broncos, and then it goes whoever's playing the Steelers,
Okay,
and then
so-
it's whoever's
all right.
playing the Patriots. So I get a root for my third and fourth favorite teams, but this week happened to be Tennessee and
Jaguars,
Jacksonville.
What are you gonna? What's gonna happen if they play each other?
Tennessee and Jacksonville?
Yeah,
No.
Jacksonville beat Pittsburgh, and my hatred for Pittsburgh grows
Okay.
more and more
All right.
every day.
That's fair.
So
That's fair.
I don't like Pittsburgh, but I don't hate them as much as I do New England. I just
do.
can't stand
I
New
do.
England. So I really don't want Tom Brady to win on the Super Bowl. So.
I'd rather have Tom Brady than Pittsburgh.
All right, we're gonna take a break. Maybe.
Maybe
Let's hope so. We need one.
we're probably gonna take a break.
Yeah, we're
at
gonna-
some point
Chances
between
are.
now and the end of the show.
See, the last break was so smooth, and this one's already come off to a bad start. But you know what? It's okay because
the first while the show was so smooth, and now it's off to a bad start.
you know what? It's fine. It's fine. We're going to take a break and come back with more of the national championship game between Alabama and Georgia next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. As we are back here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff, I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott, Blake, Jacob Blair, and Trevor Maeder. I'm not even sure what I was saying there in the middle
You're
of
going to
that.
say Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles is here. And incomplete pass.
Punched you in the throat. Blake Bortles is here, and he just punched you in the throat.
But it was intercepted.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Dude, if you ever got into a fight with Blake Bortles,
I wouldn't
you
win.
would never stay
Oh, no. He's
He's a big boy.
He's also like 6'5", 230.
I know, that's what I'm
Wasn't he
saying.
like a tight end at first, and then
He throws
a-
like it.
He is
no,
a
because
hefty dude.
he wasn't a quarterback when they brought him to UCF. I'm pretty sure. I think he was a tight end.
You do some
My
research
point
on
is that you probably wouldn't be talking so much crap on Blake Bortles if he was standing in front of you.
Hey, I mean, everybody could. It's fine. I don't know. I think I'd be like towards the bottom of who he'd want to actually punch. I'm pretty sure that guy's been with a little more attention than what I do.
I mean, he's just like LeBron James, guys. Come on.
Whoa.
That got taken out of context. I get what he was saying. He
But
wasn't. He was by no means comparing himself to LeBron.
I still don't want
James.
him to use LeBron in any type of quote because he's Blake Bortles.
But I get where he's coming from.
I don't care.
I use LeBron in quotes all the time. What are you talking
Yeah, you're also better than Blake Bortles. What you do?
Whoa. Oh, okay. I was like, no, I'm a terrible quarterback, dude. I can't throw at all.
You are better at this than he is at quarterback. So in the NFL,
Oh, thanks, man.
you're welcome.
I don't know what that means.
It's a pretty low bar.
He could be saying you're still really bad.
Well, no.
But Blake Bortles is
Here's
worse.
my point.
He didn't
is
make
if
the
you-
NFL.
if
He
you
is starting
got-
in the
I was going to
NFL.
say, if you got signed a contract for an NFL team to play quarterback, you must be pretty good. You know,
You're at least competent. Yeah,
you
you're
can't be a terrible quarterback. Like, I'm a terrible quarterback. Devin's a terrible quarterback. You can't be a terrible quarterback.
Hey,
playing
I've thrown
NFL.
touchdowns in flag football. Okay, I'm just saying. Right, Gate.
I threw an interception.
I threw it up for
4
grabs.
touchdowns though. They were 4 touchdowns.
Anyways, we'll go to the championship game that happened on Monday between Alabama and Georgia. The Tide won it again, 26-23 in overtime. Of course, Jalen Hurts in the first half was 3 of 8 for 21 yards, and then he got benched at halftime for Tua. Yes, that's all I'm saying.
Tua. How do you pronounce that?
Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa.
That was tongue. Tagovailoa. That was tongue at the beginning
I'm
of
pretty
it.
sure it's
It is. No, you're right. It's Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa. That's what. I mean, there's tongue in there somewhere, and then Viola.
It's not tongue, but it's
if you
tug.
just say
Tug.
it fast enough, you get it by with it.
Tagovailoa.
Just say Tua.
Tua
Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa.
You had 2 true freshmen battling it out there late in the game between him and Fromm for Georgia. It was a fun game to watch in the second half. The first half, I watched the ESPN with the coaches with Feinbaum, who was kind of like directing it. Then everybody else was kind of giving their opinions on what the plays was going on, how it was going like that. And it made everything really interesting to see how the chess match was going. Was playing out, and that made it interesting to see what both teams were doing, and that made that first 13-0 half enjoyable to watch. You could see the chess match happening there.
See, I thought even when it was 13-0, I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, they're both really solid teams. They both play really good defenses. There's so much speed in the field. It was fun to watch. And then, of course, Alabama second half with Tua throwing 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, but including the game winner for 41 yards on a 2nd and 26 was pretty amazing there. The legend of Tua is already growing after just one game.
The
1 half.
1 half, yeah.
the 2018 Heisman Trophy runner-up.
He's already got the 2018 and 19 trophy locked up. What are you talking about?
He's the runner-up. Who's the?
Jonathan Taylor, man. I'm still going with my pick.
I don't know.
From
There's a lot
months
of guys.
ago.
There's
Jonathan Taylor.
It's all hype,
I would
though.
put,
He's
I
gonna
would
rush
put
right
Tua,
He's gonna rush from
Jonathan
2,300
Taylor,
yards.
Mackenzie Milton from Central Florida.
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock.
Jonathan Taylor's
Skylar Thompson from Kansas
Jonathan
State.
Taylor's going to rush for
Remember-
2,300 yards.
Remember that name.
Scott Frost.
Scott Frost is going to win the Heisman somehow. We're going to figure it out. Anyway, I just wanted to say that this is not going to be the last time we see this wonderful matchup of a football game.
It's
Because,
fun.
yes, it was, Alabama won, whoopee, but this was a fantastic football game.
Yes.
This was just great football. It was fun to watch. 2 very, very good teams. You know, these were 2, and yes, people complain about, it's all SEC in the national championship.
They earned
game.
their way there.
These were the 2 best teams in the
They
country.
earned their way there. Did
I
they
will-
win their games
I
versus
will-
better teams?
I will argue that Alabama was one of the 4 best teams in college football, and they proved it when they got in the playoff. You can make the argument that maybe they didn't deserve to be there.
Did they lose to Iowa by 30?
They just won a national championship.
But they
it
got,
doesn't matter.
But they got in, and now and I knew as soon as they got in, I was like, I know this is going to go. Alabama's going to win the national championship because the one Alabama team that probably didn't deserve to get in the playoff ends up winning the national championship in a really close game.
Because here's what I look at. Georgia survives an instant classic against Oklahoma.
It was a fun game.
Oh, that was great.
And Alabama shows up, and they survive, and they play incredible football against a really good Alabama team. On the other side, Alabama throttles Clemson. It's clear that these are the two best teams in college football.
Oh, I thought all along
absolutely clear.
I thought Alabama was probably one of the top two. The other one I was kind of torn with because between Clemson, Oklahoma, and Georgia, I couldn't really see a clear cut. But I figured
Georgia made it pretty clear.
And also,
Georgia.
I'll give you credit for this. In the middle of last semester, you said Alabama, Georgia's making the college football playoff. You backed off at the end of the year,
Well,
but you said it early on. They're
I
both
did.
making it.
And I won't even take full credit for it.
I'm giving you credit.
Because there were times, like, when Alabama lost to Auburn, I was like, well, surely now they're not going to get in. And you think about how close they were to not making it in. If Wisconsin beats Ohio State, well, Wisconsin's getting in, guys. So you're setting up Clemson, Wisconsin, which I think also would have been a really fun matchup. And you're getting Georgia, Oklahoma.
Again, yeah. So it's
You
fun
know,
games.
so who knows?
People talk about, you want to say these are the two best teams in college football. Well, UCF is undefeated. I think UCF absolutely should have gotten a shot. But even if they were given a shot, I think it still would have been Alabama.
I think Alabama would win. I think Alabama would win probably by 17 points.
It would have been these two teams, even if UCF was given a shot.
I want 8.
I think 8 would be fantastic.
8 is perfect. I don't want anything else. 8 and done. 8 and done. And I think it's not just about, hey, maybe these teams deserve it. UCF deserved a chance at a title. Even if they weren't going to win it, they deserve a chance to prove themselves.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to. It would have been Alabama.
But you know what? If they would have, we'd be like, okay, you know what? They proved
absolutely.
it.
Well,
Exactly. There's no doubt after that. There's zero doubt.
And they proved against Auburn that they deserved to have a shot.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, and with an 18 playoff, UCF probably would have been the 7 seed. I think Devin on top of there.
Ish.
So they would have probably got Oklahoma.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
That'd been a great matchup.
Yeah.
So to win the national championship, they probably would have beat Oklahoma. Then they probably would have had to beat either Georgia.
Well, and if you would 18, you'd have to make it to where, like, hey, if the group of 5 team goes undefeated, they're in. Because they ranked them 12th in the last ranking, which was a joke, by the way. They ranked UCF 12th before all the bowl games and everything like that. Their top 8 would have been Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Auburn, USC. I think you'd probably take Auburn out of there and put UCF in. It's a good 8 teams.
Boy, Wisconsin, Georgia would have been a fun.
And see, I think if the playoff,
so many
if the
rushing
playoff would have,
yards.
if the playoff would have been 8 teams, I think you take the 5 Power 5 conference champions.
Yep.
And then 3 wild cards, but you make the rule that if a mid-major goes undefeated,
Group of 5.
Same thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty
If they go undefeated, then they're in. So you would have had your 3 playoff teams, and then
You would have had Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, Ohio State, USC,
probably Wisconsin,
and Bama.
Bama, and UCF.
Yep.
And I don't know about you guys, but if I would have seeded them, I would have gone, because then you could seed them however you wanted to. I don't think there should be any stipulation as far as
Well, I think it pretty much would have been the same 6. Then you move USC to 7, UCF to 8. What they would have done, most likely. So even if you get UCF versus Clemson, I mean, you saw what they did versus Auburn, and Clemson was a really good game. That could have been a fun game too.
I'd rather see UCF Oklahoma.
Right.
Well, yes, but you still get good matchups. I mean, you get to the top 8 teams,
But
you're not going to have bad
on the committee.
matchups.
You don't get that
No,
choice.
I know.
No.
And I'm fine with 8. I just don't want to see us go to 12 or 16 because
If you go to 16, you got Notre Dame, TCU, Michigan State in.
16 would be fun. Like, it would be just for pure indulgent reasons. 16 would be fun, but
More
logistically,
football.
it would be a nightmare.
Well, and you look too, is like you look at right now, the top 8 is pretty cut and dry. Who in that top 8 would have an argument of being in that wouldn't be? Maybe Miami. Well, you got
Penn
Spain,
State, maybe.
Penn State, which Penn State I think
I
actually
would vote
have
for Penn State,
Penn State would have a
yeah.
legitimate argument. Auburn, you could say would have a legitimate argument
Yes.
too, having not played the bowl game with UCF because they had to play Georgia twice. They played Clemson. They beat Bama. They would have a
Lost
legitimate.
LSU, yeah.
They would have a legitimate argument.
So yeah,
But so you'd have 2 teams that have a legitimate argument, but they're the 9th and 10th best teams in the nation. So
at that point, you're like, okay,
you're like, yeah, you know what? If you don't lose to LSU,
you're in.
you're in.
So
One thing about going to 8 teams, if it's done, I think that it needs to be kind of like college basketball, where the Power 5 conferences, you take the conference champion,
Yeah,
you take the
absolutely.
subjectivity out of
Yes.
it, and you say,
Yeah.
okay, these.
So
and then-
here's-
and then
here's-
the subjectivity is down to just those final 3
well,
teams.
and what are the odds that we see them go to 6 and make it the group of 5 and then 1? I don't like it, but
I don't like it.
you think about it, it takes the human element out of it.
Yeah. See, I'm looking at, you do 8 and you run, okay, you've got conference championship week and the next week's Army Navy week, and then you start bowl season. So you've got a week that's just got one game, and that's where I think you play those quarterfinal games, play them at home.
site.
Absolutely. At the home site, the week of the Army Navy game. I love the Army Navy game, but does it really deserve a week all on its own?
The only thing that'll be interesting that's normally the Heisman Trophy presentation week.
They can move that.
And I'm sure
Yeah,
they
they
will.
can
but
do
it
that
would,
wherever
it would
they
just be
want.
interesting to see how they do that.
Yeah.
I think they should do it at the end.
Or they announce it on Twitter.
You go conference championship.
I think they should do it at the end of the season.
So you go conference championship, quarterfinals, then you have the break during bowl season, and then semis championship.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible there. And even if you just wanted to do it,
What you run into there, though, is the national champion could have 16 wins. They could go 16-0.
That's why I wish they'd go back to the 11-game regular season and just make a lot more. That's like you used to do. So if you win 6 games, you are 6-5. You have a winning record, go to a bowl game. Not 6-6, go to the bowl game. That's what
go 3 non-con, 8 conference.
Yes, I agree with that. Make the conference schedules uniform. You either play 8 or 9. You got to figure it out. Everybody go conform to the same thing. It makes more sense that way. I just don't like how every conference has it's okay, but at the same point, it's hard to judge 2 teams whenever the rules are so different for each conference. It's not uniform.
Well, let's look at Ohio State played 2 more conference games than Alabama did. I mean, because they played in the championship game, and then last week when Alabama was playing like Mercer. Ohio State was playing Illinois. Now, granted, it was Illinois, which is like the
same
Mercer,
difference, right?
Which is like it's like the Mercer of the Big Ten.
Yeah,
but I'd rather play Mercer than Illinois.
Yeah, probably.
Just me.
Just don't lose to Iowa by 30 and you're in.
No, and that's the thing is if Ohio State would have lost to Iowa by even a touchdown, you can make the argument that they're in because Kinnick can be a tough place to play.
Yeah, see, I would definitely been okay with Ohio State,
but it's hard to justify 30.
Yeah. Well, when teams are so close, like Alabama and Ohio State are. They're both great football teams. They're both obviously top echelon college football teams this year, not just because of their history, but this year. They're both obviously elite football teams. The bottom line is Alabama lost 1 game, Ohio State lost 2.
Big difference.
When there's that difference between 2 teams that are so close together, the team that will only loses 1 game.
And your one loss is on the road to a rival.
Absolutely.
And who's also a good team. So the final top 10 for the AP poll was Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, UCF at 6, but they got 4 first-place votes, Wisconsin, Penn State, TCU, Auburn. So that was the top 10.
And that, I think, is a very honest top 10.
Yep.
Really, I think that's about...
With Notre Dame,
exactly
USC, Miami right outside. So it was really good.
Yeah, I can't think of anything I would change drastically. You look at Georgia's schedule next year, guys. Austin, PA. At South Carolina, Middle Tennessee, at Mizzou, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, at LSU, home against Florida, at Kentucky, Auburn at home, UMass, and then Georgia Tech. That's a pretty favorable schedule.
And probably Alabama in championship game.
This is going to be, this Alabama-Georgia is going to be the SEC championship game next year.
Unless Mizzou can ruin the party. I'm kidding.
You remember a couple years ago when Saban first got to Bama, and it was Alabama-Florida for like the first 3 or 4 years. I think that's kind of what it is, but I think this Georgia team's better than those Florida teams.
This and Alabama, both of these teams are, with all the freshmen.
So much talent.
They're going to be so good.
It's not even fair.
They're going to be so good.
And maybe eventually it'll come out that it really wasn't fair. But the way these teams are, like Kirby Smart built this team just like the team he had at Alabama as defensive coordinator.
Also, one thing I want to say, the cojones on Nick Saban to go to a true freshman quarterback at halftime. I know Jalen Hurts hadn't played well, but
in the way
he's got some brass ones to go to.
The way he explained it was perfect. He said, I knew that in order to win this football game, we were going to have to throw the football, and he thought that Tua was going to put them in a better situation throwing the football than Jalen did.
Now, the only question
that's a perfect explanation.
No, the only thing is she done Tua earlier in the season is the only question now after how well he played.
And let me just say this, too. The way Jalen Hurts handled that situation
was perfect.
Should be a way that every coach and parent should sit their kid down and show them how to handle that situation.
Absolutely.
Because, Jalen, after the game when it was Tom Rinaldi, I believe, talking to Jalen Hurts didn't have to do that.
Absolutely.
And Jalen Hurts was the first guy.
He could have pouted.
He could have pouted and threatened to transfer right there or try to fight his teammates on the sideline like we saw.
Now, I will say, he was very visibly disappointed that he didn't get to play.
And I don't blame him.
But absolutely any person in their right mind would be.
And he was supportive. Every time he came off the field, he was the first one there trying to help him out with certain things that he sees and stuff like that. And he just didn't have the arm talent that Tua does. And Tua's really, really special right now. You can kind of see it right there. He went to the Elite 11.
Special football player.
Yeah, he went to the Elite 11 program. Tua has the potential to go next level. Jalen really doesn't. He's a college quarterback at best.
Jalen kind of reminds me of like a Denard Robinson type player.
Which is why he might transition earlier to receiver.
It's possible, yeah.
See, if I'm Jalen Hurts, I don't transfer. Because you think about it, he transfers, he's going to have to sit out a year.
Yeah.
If I'm Jalen Hurts, why wouldn't you try to put him at wide receiver or running back?
The problem with running back is that their running back class is just so deep already. I don't know.
But you can still use him in some wildcat.
But at wide receiver,
and you can still use
him. Chance.
But you can still use him in some wildcat.
And that's one thing. If you switch him to receiver, those other gadget plays like the receiver reverse pass or something like that, they're so easy to use now because he's already built-in quarterback right there. So it make their offense even more explosive. They already have a bunch of young receivers that are there, even with losing Ridley
Yeah.
to the draft. They're going to be so good. And Tua's fun to watch. I mean, that lefty, it's a little unconventional, but man, he is avoiding pass rushers and is making good passes downfield. It's fun to watch.
And you look at the quarterbacks Alabama's won national championships with: Greg McElroy, 2 with A.J. McCarron, and Jake Coker.
And that
and
just
now you're
proves-
giving them an actual good quarterback.
That just proves that in college football, in football in general, if your defense is good enough and
Win
if
the
your run
trenches.
game is good enough, if you win the line of scrimmage, you're golden. You're golden.
Yeah. That was a football game.
And that's
Monday
even
night.
more in like NFL. You can get by with a great quarterback. You can win some games against teams who are better up front. But in
You're
college
never gonna win a
football,
Super Bowl if you don't win the line of scrimmage.
you can get farther. I mean,
Right. No, I
you have at
agree
least
with you.
competent
Yeah,
line of
absolutely,
scrimmage. Yeah,
absolutely.
But in college football, you have to have a really good line of scrimmage. You have any chance to contend with the Alabama, Georgias, Clemson's. I mean, Clemson last year, I know Deshaun Watson was really good, but their line play was also really, really
Yeah.
good. You have to have that to complement it with it. And if you have an average quarterback with a great front,
that's-
you can win a championship in college football.
And
With a
that's
good coach.
where if you I'll go to the NFL, and I hate to go back to the Kansas City Chiefs, but if you go back to the Chiefs, you can go 10-6 with a mediocre at best offensive line, like the Kansas City Chiefs did this season. But if you don't win the line of scrimmage, you're never gonna make it all the way, and that's even more so in college football.
And if you have that 1 week spot on the offensive line like left guard and Brian Winston, it push you back on a holding call, and you run 3 straight screens, and saying you're out of sync on offense. Sorry, I'm not salty about that possession at all. So yeah, anything else about the championship game? I thought it was a fun game to watch. So
Well, you go ahead, Jacob.
One thing is, it was an unbelievable game to watch. I mean, that's even throughout the NFL season, college season, that was one of the best football games I've seen. But one thing that, looking towards next year, is this may have been just the way the announcers were calling the game, but the amount of freshmen that were on the field at the end of that game.
I mean, Alabama's whole offense ran through freshmen.
Najee Harris came into the game
'cause
and
that's exactly
put down
what-
6 carries for 64 yards. These two teams could be your 2 teams in the national championship
absolutely.
next year.
There's
With
good
how
chance.
young these two teams are, yes, they're going to lose some seniors, but with how young these two teams are, both quarterbacks were
true
freshmen.
freshman. True freshman.
I think there's an
Because
opportunity
that's what
for
Bama needs is freshmen.
I think there's an opportunity for both of these teams to enter the SEC championship undefeated. If that's the case, they're both in.
It's hard to keep them out. Yeah,
barring like a ridiculous blowout, and who knows what the rest of
Right.
knows what the rest of college football will look like next year. But yeah, I would say going and I said that at the beginning, that was kind of my logic when I picked Georgia, Alabama, was they were both going to go in undefeated, and that if it was close, it was 38-35, which isn't likely with those two defenses.
Yeah.
They both get in, but if it was 31-0, probably not.
And that was the point that I was going to make was the state of college football right now.
great.
Is fantastic. There is more parity in college football right now than I think there's ever been.
And Bama's still winning national championships
Well, but you
every
look
year.
at that, and you look at, Bama won the national championship. How many teams can you look at and go, boy, they really weren't that far off?
There's a lot of teams that are right there.
There are probably 15, 16 teams you can look at and go, if you played them against Alabama in 10 games, they'd win 4 of them.
So we mentioned the parity in college football. When you look at the dynasties we've had in college football, the USC in the early 2000s,
It's hard to top Bama.
Nebraska in the 90s.
Boo.
Yeah,
Live in the 90s.
Yeah. Miami in the 80s.
2000.
I'm
In
drawing
the early
a-
2000s.
I'm drawing a blank. Nebraska again in the 70s.
Yeah.
Is it kind of hard to maybe
Oklahoma.
say that? Yeah, Oklahoma. Is it kind of hard to maybe say that what Alabama's done isn't the most impressive?
Oh, it's
because I
absolutely
will argue
the most
recruiting now is a lot more national.
Yes.
Than it was even in the 1990s when Nebraska was dominating. And the game has changed so much.
With as diverse and as talented as the pool for college football athletes is today, what Alabama has done in today's college football is absolutely the most impressive feat if not, it's one of the most impressive feats in all of sports.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And I won't go as far as saying I think he's the greatest coach of all time in any sport or maybe even football alone.
I
but
think
Nick
he's-
Saban's the greatest coach of college football.
Yeah.
And I would
Sorry,
If
Bear.
not
No,
tied with
Yeah,
Bear
sorry, Bear.
Bryant.
Yeah, sorry, Bear Bryant. But I think Nick Saban passed you.
No, I think Nick Saban's.
Yeah, and
I'm not
he's-
even sure Bear Bryant would be second on
I
my
mean, with
list.
scholarship limitations and stuff with recruiting now, and then just all that
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, they're still stacked. It's just incredible to see, and I know he's pretty much. I know Kirby Smart and Georgia now is getting better, but for a while there, he made the SEC coaching. He ran coaches out of the SEC. Urban
and
Meyer,
that's-
Les Miles, all those guys.
One thing that I thought was cool this season was look at how different week to week our playoff picks were.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? Look at the 4 teams we had in the playoff.
Oklahoma State, baby.
Week 6. And the 4 teams that ended up in the playoff.
and
It's so close.
The beauty of college football this year and the last couple of years is, there's not a ton of people at the beginning of the season that thought Georgia had a legitimate shot at the playoff. They just didn't. There weren't a ton of people.
Especially when Eason goes down, you got a true freshman playing quarterback.
And speaking of that, it sounds like he's going to transfer to Washington. There weren't, which is perfect for Washington because Jake Browning's he's not the out of the year. Browning will be a senior next year. I mean, they'll go right from Jake Browning to Jacob Eason, who many people thought could be a Heisman favorite this year before he went down.
Yeah.
Not many people thought Washington would be a playoff team last year, and they were. A couple of years ago, not many people thought Iowa would have a chance to go 12-0, yet alone get in a situation to make the playoffs.
I still love Christian McCaffrey.
I hate him, but he was on my fantasy team this year, and he made plays for me. But in college football, it's just there's so much parity, and you never know. There could be a team next year that totally takes us by surprise when we go, where do they come from?
Yep. Let's hope so. See what happens. There should be a fun season. I know, Trevor, you must leave us to go cover high school wrestling or basketball.
Yeah.
Hey, Real Sport Today.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
They pay me with real money.
I came out of
so-
a wrestling school.
Yeah.
I didn't wrestle, but I came out of it.
They
I watched a lot of wrestling.
They have those in Missouri. They have wrestling schools.
Yeah,
2
back
state
off,
championships.
Iowa. Back off, Iowa.
My high school put like 3 down in a row while I was there. 3 state.
Ooh,
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go to school?
Park Hill.
There's schools in
yeah,
Iowa
yeah,
that
class
have won
4.
like 6 or 7 in a
Class
row.
5.
It's
there's
big deal.
there's no competition there. It's
Only
all
4
weak.
classes in
It's fine.
wrestling.
I'm kidding. I know nothing about Iowa.
jumped across.
I know Iowa wrestling is good. okay?
Iowa wrestling is. I don't want to say it's like the talent wise is quite the level of like Texas football,
Fine.
but it's.
You know what?
Iowa
You
wrestling's
take your
up there.
3 state championships. We were the first school in Missouri high school history to have 2 4-time state champions.
Here's a quick trivia question. Before I leave, guys. Who was the first coach to win a state wrestling title? in
Mel
Iowa?
Churchma.
No, he did win a state football title at I believe Sioux Center.
Of course he did. He invented football in
I
1994.
don't know.
Adolph Rupp,
Oh, cool.
the basketball coach from Kentucky. So there you go. Knowledge is power.
Namesake of Rupp Arena.
Yeah.
As if you didn't know. Of course you
Yeah.
knew that. I don't know why I said that.
All right,
That was
Trevor.
stupid.
You have fun up in Iowa. Where are you going tonight?
I am making the trek to Carroll, Iowa. It's about 2.5 hours north
know
of
where
here. It's just go up north, home of Cass Weidel,
Well,
former
that's-
Bearcat.
I mean, it's
Okay.
Iowa. Just go up north. I mean,
They got about,
Cornfields.
they got about 5 inches of snow up there yesterday, so I'm interested to see
Road
what
conditions.
the roads are like. They were
I know
fine
where
on me on my
Carroll
way
is.
down here from southern Iowa, but we'll see what they're like when I get up north. So
Okay. Well, have fun tonight, Trevor. Stay safe driving there and home. And we will see you later.
go
So-
Saxonville.
see you, buddy.
Go Saxonville. Okay. So we're going to take a break, and then we're talking about a little bit of MLB hot stove, and then after that, we have a dynamic duo. We're talking some NBA basketball with us. So should be a fun time. We're going to take a break and come back with more here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan, Elliott, Jacob, Blair, and now our producer on the TV side, Joseph Andrews, coming in for Trevor as Trevor left us to cover high school basketball. We'll have Joe on for this segment. The next segment, we'll have some NBA talk with the dynamic duo of Perry Randle and Noah Cooper coming on. Talk some NBA talk with us. But right now, we have the MLB hot stove or cold stove? What is it right now? Is it cold?
Yeah, it's
Is it warm
lukewarm at the moment.
Are they firing it up a little bit?
It was cold for a long time. It was really hot at the beginning. It was
Yes.
cold for a long time, and now it's lukewarm, which really tends to happen most off seasons. You have periods of where it's really fire and guys are going all over the place. Then you have some times where it slows down. It feels like nothing's happening, even though there's some
We have
small
like
deals.
30
here and
days till
there.
spring training.
Small deals here and there, and now it's starting to warm up again. That usually happens.
So, of course, the big elephant in the room when it comes to free agency is what happens with Eric Hosmer with the Royals. I know around here, I know the Royals, it's been rumored that he's been offered a 7-year, $147 million deal, and the Padres are about 7 years, $140. So, does Hosmer come back to Kansas City? Do they set a deadline for him to sign, or they're just going to let him walk? Or what happens with Eric Hosmer? Because right now, Scott Boras is still trying to get that 8th, 9th year of a contract, and right now, 7 years only about as much as they're offering for Eric Hosmer.
I think right now what they're really going to have to do is just really – they're letting it sit right now. They're basically waiting it out to see if he's really willing to come back to Kansas City. Wait to see if maybe a couple more teams offer him a little bit. Obviously, the Padres are that main other team chasing after him right now. But really, he's just been kind of quiet. Like, there's been those few offers that have been announced. Or not announced, but have been reported. But otherwise, news on him has pretty much been quiet.
I mean, I think I just have a feeling he's coming back to Kansas City, but right now it's taken so long to get to the point when spring training starts. Like, Royals like, hey, February 15th, you sign by this day, or we're not bringing you back, and you have to find somewhere else and get lowballed by the people because spring training starts. And if you miss spring training, you could have a bad year.
You know, and I think there's some sleeper teams that go along with Eric Hosmer as well. You mentioned that the Padres that are the other team that has offered him, but then you also look at, the St. Louis Cardinals were involved for a while and still are involved in talks with Eric Hosmer.
Red Sox.
The Red Sox exactly are involved. There's been talk of the Detroit Tigers. There's been talk of the White Sox. There's been talk of, there are a lot of teams that could really use a third baseman right now. So I think that there are
first baseman,
are some sleeper. Yeah, you're right. That there are some sleeper teams that can take a step up and potentially make a run at Eric Hosmer late in the game here.
What about you, Jacob? What do you think of this whole Hosmer free agent thing that's made more difficult by Scott Boras being his agent?
Well, with Eric Hosmer, I think it just ultimately comes down to where he wants to go play. If he wants to come back to Kansas City, I think he will. If he doesn't, he's going to find another team to go sign with. And it just comes down to, I think it was Joe said this, he's just going to wait to see what other offers come in. And all of the offers are probably going to be right around the same mark, which is why I say it's probably just is going to end up, does he want to come back to Kansas City or does he want to go somewhere else? And Hosmer, he really, to me, doesn't owe Kansas City anything. I mean, he already helped bring Kansas City a World Series. If he wants to go somewhere, he's going to go there, and it's just up to him.
Because the bottom line is, if he sticks around in Kansas City, it's going to be a couple years of rebuilding. If he goes to San Diego, it's going to be a couple years of rebuilding, or forever of rebuilding, as it's been in San Diego. But it's a question of, does he want to rebuild, or does he want to go play winning baseball now? Does he want to wait a couple of years and potentially have year after year after year of success, or does he want to go now and maybe have a year or two of success and then fade off into whatever?
If it's down to his two big offers, or the Royals and the Padres, I think he stays
all the way.
Yeah, he stays with Kansas City.
And if you sign with the Royals, you're a legend in Kansas City. Like, you're this era's, I know he's not as good as George Brett, but you're this era's face of the franchise with Salvador Perez. You two, with Kansas City, for Kansas City lifers, they'll build a statue for Hosmer in the future. I mean, he'll be one of those guys that Kansas City fans love forever because he stayed with the team. And I know beginning of the season, ESPN has him as the 7th-ranked free agent on their ranking thing. So it's really hard to see what is going to happen with Eric Hosmer. And I think it's really interesting because he is 28 years old, so a 7-year deal. He's 35 at the end of it, and that's still pretty old, but at the same point, you're going to get most of those years during his prime, so you're going to get those. It's not like giving Gordon a deal when he's 32 years old, still going into his prime, not leaving it. So I think there's definitely reasons to bring him back if you can build around him and Salvi. I think it's a definite way to go if I'm the Royals. I definitely want to bring him back, but at the same point, I was listening to 610 earlier today, and it was like, hey, February 15th, spring training starts. Had that deadline, you sign this contract we have available for you, and if not, we're pulling it, and we're going to walk away and just go in the future because you can't get strung on for so long before it's finally like, okay, Boras, we're done with you. I'm like, we're just done messing with you. So
the one thing I find it kind of hard to believe is that David Glass went out there and said, we'll pay him what they want to pay him, right? What the reports are saying they're going to pay him right now. I mean, when you look at it, that's basically twice as much as Alex Gordon's contract, which is the biggest contract in Kansas City Royals history. So for them to just jump up that much when David Glass is known to be that.
But you can't blame him for wanting to spend that money.
No, you can't blame him at all.
I mean, that's what fans have wanted for years. Is David Glass opened his pocketbook up, and he has past few years. Now that he's going to do it again, fans are like, I don't know. It's like, this is what you asked for all those years of losing. Like, hey, spend more money to help improve and keep guys. That's the biggest thing for years for Royals. They didn't keep their own guys. They let them walk in free agency or trade them whenever they were going to be free agents in the winter meetings. And they kept him, and I think right now you have a chance to bring him back. If you would have told Dayton Moore and David Glass beginning of the year, hey, we get Hosmer 7 years and under $150 million, they'd be like, really? There's no way you didn't go for 10 years, 200. I mean, so this is what the market's dictated right now. They give him at a bargain compared to what his market value is supposed to be. So you got to look at the glass half full. Their TV market's going to go up. And by the way, Dayton Moore is a wizard for getting rid of Soria and take all $9 million of his salary. That was, I don't know how he did that.
I was just going.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant by Dayton Moore. So I know they had to get rid of Scott Alexander, but $9 million off the salary first, and you get rid of Soria. That's a great move. So they're doing things they need to do to sign a Hosmer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
About Kane and Moose for other Royals.
Kane.
I think Kane's pretty much gone.
He's pretty much gone.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There was never really anything really there kind of indicating that he was going to come back. And just from everything I've seen this season, really him and Moose have been the more quiet ones. There's been every now and then those reports that there are people that kind of come up every few weeks and then go away and then come back up. But I'd probably say right now Kang won't. Right now Moose is kind of up in the air. I say if you bring Hosmer back, he might be back as a Royal too. He obviously won't get paid as much as Hosmer will.
Well, and I think the issue there is he won't get paid as much as some other teams are going to pay him.
Yep. So, and you can come back, maybe it's a short-term deal, and just try to do it next year. I know Machado and the company are out there in free agency next year, but maybe it's a little hotter market. Because this year has been pretty cold on giving out big money to people this year when people are saving up for next year whenever some Harper and Machado get to the free agency market and people want to spend big money next year. So
free agency has been cold.
Trades
have been a little hotter. But,
Stanton.
Stanton.
Longoria. Ozuna. Yep, so a lot of good trades there. And, of course, arbitration started right now, and of course Josh Donaldson, he signed a record mark $23 million deal. Also Chris Bryant, most for a first-time arbitration of an eligible player, almost $11 million, 10.85, which passed the mark set by Ryan Howard back in 2008. He signed a $10 million deal.
Which is a little bit surprising.
A lot of money there.
What Chris Bryant has done for the Chicago Cubs.
Rookie of the Year MVP, yeah.
And so I would have thought it would have been a little bit more than that. But that just tells me that Chris Bryant's committed to staying in Chicago for a long time because he takes a contract that maybe,
is undervalued a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you look at him, he's 26. He's one of the 3 players, along with Buster Posey and Ryan Howard, to win both Rookie of the Year and MVP before becoming arbitration eligible. So he's been really good for the Cubs. He helped break the curse that was there in Chicago, unfortunately. I'm kidding. They deserve happiness once, and that's enough as Cardinals fans. What about the Cardinals? What are they looking at in free agents? You're my resident Cardinal guy.
You take a look at what they've done with Ozuna and the signing of Mikolas. Those are a couple of pretty good signings. And Gregerson, that's okay. I think you still want to look for a back end of the bullpen kind of guy. There's been a lot of talk around Greg Holland. There's been a lot of talk around Alex Colomé in Tampa Bay. It wouldn't hurt to get another front line pitcher, whether it's Chris Archer or it's Jake Arrieta. They've been really one of the front runners in the Arrieta conversation at the moment, which is interesting for St. Louis. You don't hear them pop up in a big time starter conversation very often. The other guys that they've been in a conversation for they were in the Donaldson conversation. They've kind of dropped out of that. You look at a guy like Hosmer; they're still in the conversation for Hosmer, and a couple of guys that I think are a little lower on their list, but still an option. You've got the middle infielders Dozier and Kinsler that are both available. I doubt that they'll take that. They've given a lot of commitment to Colton Wong.
Yep.
In the past, there's also Yovani Gallardo out there.
And one thing that's good with
he was already traded to Seattle.
One thing that's good with the Cardinals with Carpenter playing, he can play first or third, so they have a lot of flexibility in who they can get, either a first baseman or a third baseman, and move him across the diamond. That really helps the Cardinals with their flexibility this offseason in trying to improve their lineup. You can definitely have that flexibility.
And Jason Hamill is another name that's out there, just another middle of the rotation to back of the rotation kind of pitcher that people have tossed around that the Cardinals could be in on as well.
Yep, so it's kind of a cold season right now for baseball, but of course, since spring training is approaching, we're expecting to have more and more deals come in. Zach Britton, a closer with the Orioles, signed a 1-year, $12 million deal to avoid arbitration. So Blackman signed a $14 million deal with the Rockies. So a lot of these are coming through. A lot more signings today because of arbitration coming up. So that's nice to see a little more activity when it comes to baseball because spring training starts in the middle of February, which is about a month away. So a lot of fun things happening in baseball. Do you guys have anything else to add on this? On the cold stove? Someone going to light the stove sometime here?
I don't think so.
All right, so that's all we got here. I want to thank Joe for coming on for this segment to talk about a little bit of the Royal stuff. We're going to bring on the dynamic duo next here. Talk some NBA, a lot of stuff happening there. Some teams collapsing, some teams making pushes towards the playoffs. I know it's the middle of January, so it's kind of a weird time in the NBA, but these two guys really love to talk about it, and I like to talk about it too. So we'll be back next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott and the dynamic duo of Perry Randle and Noah Cooper. They will probably making regular appearances on the show, at least during basketball season, because, well, usually Trevor leaves at 4, and we need some NBA talk here at the end of the show to balance out some of the football talk we had here early on, as well as some baseball earlier. And, guys, how you guys doing today?
It's cold outside.
It is cold outside.
Very cold.
It's a little chilly. I have had to put the moped rides on hold for a little bit till the roads get cleared off so I don't just wipe out.
Oh, that hurts just thinking about it.
The cold don't bother me. It's the slick roads that really scare me.
Yeah, ooh.
That's what scares me most about this. But even if it's cold here in Missouri, that's when we know it's basketball season. The NBA is going on right now. What's your guys' thoughts, just anything in general about the NBA so far this season? I've really enjoyed it. I thought like a lot of young stars in the NBA made it really enjoyable this season. I know everybody kind of thinks, well, Cavs, Warriors, Celtics, Houston Rockets are top, but even the middle of the league, I think, has been better this year than maybe the last few years.
I've been thinking, as I've been watching, is just how great LeBron James is in his 15th season. It's definitely the conversation as always, but like you said, there's great young talent, and you know, I was kind of worried to see who's going to be leading the NBA after LeBron leaves, but I think we're going to be okay.
It might be just by committee for a couple of years until someone sprouts up. You know what? It's a lot of fun. Even if you have that by committee, you have good games every night to watch. It's not just like, well, we got to wait for LeBron or KD to play. You're like, no, well, Milwaukee has a good team. Washington has John Wall still. I mean, you still have all these teams. The Sixers are still exciting. They're not good. I mean, they're still fun teams to watch, at least.
Yeah, of course.
And then, of course, if you just look at the East, I know the East gets a bad rap, but you have Boston, you still have Tatum's looking really good, and you have Kyrie Irving and Hayward's hurt right now. The Raptors, they still have Lowry and DeRozan, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Heat, they took a big loss with Deion Waiters going down. They still have Whiteside. The Wizards have John Wall and Bradley Beal. The Bucks still have Giannis, and then if Parker ever gets back healthy, the Sixers and the Knicks will have young stars. I mean, it's just a fun league to watch right now. That's just the East. It's only half the league, and then, of course, the West is even more loaded. So,
well, you want to talk about young talent, and you know, a lot of leagues have young talent, but there's something about the NBA's young talent that maybe are a little bit more talented than some. There's a lot of young guys out there that are playing some really, really good ball.
Yeah, because the good thing about basketball is that it's always evolving. Like as far as football, one player's going to play one position, but in basketball, the player's going to play offense and defense. They're always going to be evolving, getting taller, bouncing higher.
Well, yeah, you're seeing 6'7", 6'8" point guards around the league. That's ridiculous, man.
7'3" power forward and Porzingis.
I mean, we're really moving towards positionless basketball.
Yeah.
It started out with the Warriors and what they've been doing, and now every team is just trying to emulate and do what the Rockets are doing. You know, the 5 seconds, run up the floor, shoot a three as fast as you can, or a layup, no mid-range shot. Even teams that can't really shoot threes that well, like the Magic or the Hawks, for example, they're still doing that. Or even the Spurs, for example, they're still doing the Houston Rockets offense, even though they don't really have the three-point shooters, and some teams are successful and some aren't by doing it.
Even when you say like positionless basketball, it's more a European thing that's come over to the league. When the league became more global, you saw more of those players come over here and be successful. Like, hey, this guy can play 1 through 3, and that's really dynamic for your offense that he can guard 3 positions, and also it's hard for people to guard him because he is so flexible with where he can go in the thing. Because a lot of time for basketball was very football. It's like, hey, you are a center, you do this. You are a point guard, you do this. Much like football, a guard, center, and stuff like that. It's become much more like soccer of style like that, where you can do multiple things in the field or on the court. It's really fun to watch. You have so much skill in the league. You need to look at the Nuggets, Jokic. He's really big, skilled, big man. They're fun to watch. I mean, just so much talent in the league right now. Like you see teams like OKC struggle a bit, even though they're so talented, because it's so hard against other talented teams to win night in, night out.
Well, and that's where if you take a step back to like the 90s, the early 2000s, there weren't any 7-footers hitting 45% from 3.
No, you just bangers.
Look now, in order to succeed in this league as a big guy, you got to be able to shoot.
Yep.
You know, when have we ever lived in a time when that was the case? It's something else now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
and you're starting to see people, especially like I was just thinking like Dwayne Dedman on the Hawks. It's a person a lot of people don't necessarily know about, but last season he couldn't really shoot threes that well, and he's a big man and he's really evolved, and now he's starting to shoot threes. And a lot of players that haven't been able to shoot threes in the past over the summer, they're really working on their game to shoot threes better and really adapt to the game moving forward.
When you take a look at a guy like Joel Embiid, when he was in college, the 1 year, 6 games he played at Kansas, he couldn't shoot a lick.
Well, yeah, and I was just
tall.
I was talking to Perry here in the other room, and like Joel Embiid, he's only played basketball for 6-7 years. He started out over in Africa. He played a lot of soccer growing up, kind of like Hakeem Olajuwon did, and he's only played basketball for 6 or 7 years, so he doesn't really. His game will be evolving as we move forward because a lot of the people in the U.S. have been playing basketball since 5, 6, 7, and he just started playing not too long ago.
And he's averaging 23.5 and 10.8 rebounds this year to go along with almost 2 blocks a game. Whenever he plays, and that's the big thing with NBA, just his health. But whenever he plays, he's a dominant force on the court because he's just a massive human being. He's just massive.
What's he shooting from 3?
Right now, Embiid is shooting 29% from 3. He's 48% from the field. I mean, it's not great right now,
Still,
but it's for a 7'3" guy. You don't usually see that.
He was like 0 for 3 from 3 at Kansas.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, at this point, he probably still shouldn't even really be taking 3-pointers.
7 foot 250.
Yes, but he's still because you see his power inside. He's
got the Euro.
Yeah.
He's got all that.
I mean, and last year he played 31 games. He played 30 already this year. He shot 36.7% from 3 last year.
I mean,
so it's definitely been down this year, but I think he's
probably
just
a
a
higher
fun guy to
volume,
watch.
too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and even the more established guys in the league now, you look at Kevin Durant. He was a center in college.
Yeah.
When he played at Texas, he was the big man.
Yeah.
He didn't shoot nearly as much as he does now. And so it's just amazing to see guys the difference between the college and the pro game now, to where guys are coming from college. Okay, you're 7 foot tall. You've got this set of skills inside. Now you've got to develop your range in order to make it in this league.
And then you got like a Porzingis who's 7'3", 240.
That's
I love Porzingis. I love watching him play. And by the way, he's 2 days older than me. And he's dominating the NBA right now. I just feel bad about myself. He's averaging 24 and 7. I'm sitting here on the show. Also 2.3 blocks per game. He's just a fun guy to watch play because, I mean, if he's 7'3" and he's a trailer on a transition, he shoots a 3, you're not going to be able to contest it because he shoots above his head. I mean, and he's shooting 37% from 3 this year.
Yeah, he's shooting from 9 feet in the air. He only has to go 1 foot up to hit the basket.
And he has a nasty mean streak to him a little bit too. Usually some of those European bigs are a little bit softer. He does not have that. He's a little bit mean too. I just saw a block there on ESPN late versus the Bulls against Markkanen, whereas in his transition to help win the game, and he's ferocious. He's just fun to watch. So
and that's what I love about guys like him is that you look at that's something you don't see in the NBA often enough. Is just a big mean dude inside. And so it's fun when you get one like that, or one that has that in him with Porzingis, and you go back to the way DeMarcus Cousins looked for a while. Guys like that are just big mean dudes inside. And
then we haven't even talked about Karl-Anthony Towns yet for the T-Wolves and what they're doing right now. They're on a hot streak right now with him, Wiggins, and Butler playing really well together. They've been one of the best offenses in the league over the past month. I mean, they've been really fun to watch too. And if those 3 guys can get in sync, Towns, it's just so fun to watch all these guys play basketball. And I know a lot of people give the NBA a bad rap, but hey, they don't play any defense. I want to see you go out there and guard 7 foot 250 with those moves. It's like, it's not that they can't play defense, it's that it's really hard to stop these guys because they are so dynamic offensively. There's a reason why there's guys. And that's one thing I want to point to is some guys in college can average 15, 20 points a game. They get to the NBA, they average 5 because it's hard to score in the NBA because it's so much longer, so much length and quickness. It makes it look like there's no defense because you see people blow by other people. It's because they're that talented and that skill. The skill in basketball right now is at an all-time high. And I think that's what people in the 90s who love 90s basketball just fail to see back and forth because it's such an open game now, and there's a lot of threes, and sometimes there's too many threes. I'll admit that. Like sometimes it's not fun to watch us see jack up 3, jack up 3, jack up 3. It's like every once in a while, okay, how about we get a post up every once in a while here just to mix it up a bit? But that's just one of the things you look at right now, and it's just so much skill in the NBA right now.
And that's where I was for the longest time. Is I was so anti-NBA for a few years. I was like, man, it's college basketball. I love college basketball, and I still like college basketball more than I do the NBA. But it's almost impossible to not watch the NBA right now because there's so much talent. It's so entertaining. There's so many guys that can go out there on a given night and put up 55 points if they want. It's just
Lou Williams is scoring.
It's incredible to watch.
And even if you have a guy who can't really score but can impact in games another way, like Lonzo, he's a rookie right now. He's under a lot of pressure because of his father saying a bunch of stupid stuff. But Lonzo, he is so opposite of LeVar. That's why I love Lonzo, because he is a quiet kid. He just goes out there and he just goes out and plays basketball. He gets his teammates involved. He's averaging 10, 7, and 7 this year as a rookie. I mean, that's hard to do. Playing for the Lakers, you're going to have a lot of spotlight in the first place, being the second overall pick. But when your dad's also LeVar Ball, there's so much extra pressure on him. And you see the Lakers whenever he plays, when he doesn't play, it's a vastly different just feel around the game. There's so much more giving when he's on the floor, because you know the ball's coming back to you eventually if you're open. So even just guys like that, he's not going to go out there and score 30 because he's just not his game, but he's still fun to watch because of the style of game he plays.
Here's the thing I like about Lonzo right now is that you can kind of tell that he knows that he's not where he needs to be at the moment. Like, he's playing well. He's not playing bad, but at the same time, if he wants to get where he wants to go, he's going to have to get a lot better. And you can kind of tell that he knows that.
Yeah,
he realizes that he needs to get better.
I think that's very important for someone like him who does have a dad like that, with all the pressure whenever he's playing, because I think that, you know, he might have a bad game, but he's also going to have good games. So when he has those bad games, you can really tell that he's learning. And I think that's really important for any rookie, especially a rookie like him in his position.
And he was hurt for a few games too. And immediately when he came back, the Lakers won 3 in a row right after
just
that.
Boom, you can see the style of play got so much better.
Yeah, their transition game is a lot higher when he's on the court. They'll whip it to him and he'll throw it right down the floor. They'll get a quick, easy basket. And Lonzo's the type of player that he's kind of like more of an old school point guard, and he'll get everyone better and not worry about he doesn't do a lot of the stuff that he's bad at.
Yeah, he keeps it within himself, and he's shooting better now. I know everybody in November was like, he's shooting 24% this month. He's bad. In December, he shot 37% from 3. So you could tell that shot, just getting used to the speed of the NBA is some of the biggest thing, and it's a little farther back from the three-point line as well. Just getting under control almost a little bit and letting the game come to you. And he's definitely done that. And you can tell he's a smart kid the way he plays basketball. And whenever you see Larry Nance Jr. going down the middle of the lane in transition, you just throw him the ball near the basket, and he just goes up and gets it because he's so athletic. And he makes a guy like Kuzma. It's just that one little thing in basketball where if you got a guy on your team who can get you the ball in your spots and get you where you're comfortable, it makes your job so much easier. That's what you see with the Lakers offense with Lonzo. And I know a lot of people hate him just because of his father, and I don't think that's right, but because I understand why people don't like LeVar, because this is LeVar. But
he's something else, man.
Exactly. But Lonzo's a fun kid to watch, and just that whole Lakers team, it's so young. You can just see the talent there with him. And then, of course, Kuzma, Larry Nance, Randle probably won't be there long term, or Clarkson, but also you have Ingram. There's a fun team to watch.
Plenty of potential.
Yeah, plenty of potential.
And the Lakers will be
salary cap.
Yeah, they will be dumping people this summer, as you mentioned. Clarkson, he has a really high salary, and a couple more players on their team have really high salaries too, and they'll probably be looking to let those players go, so they have the potential to sign 2 max free agents in the summer, which is very possible.
So my question is, if you are one of those big free agents, say like LeBron James or Paul George, do you look to go to the Lakers?
I mean, you're going to play with the guy who likes to pass the ball.
I think it's at least
not a bad
a thought.
Take the pressure off of
It's
you.
at least a thought. You will have the circus from LeVar Ball, but it has to be at least a consideration, especially since they will have all this cap room if they can let people like Lopez or if they can let people like Clarkson go.
And that's where, in this situation, if I'm a big free agent and go into a team like that, you see Lonzo realizing what he has to improve on, realizing what parts of his game aren't that great and where he has to go. You know, that improvement in shooting percentage over just a month, I look at and see that's pretty impressive, because he knows what he needs to work on. And I think it would be easy for him to sit back and go, oh boy, I'm in the NBA now. I'm getting paid. I don't have to work on anything. It's fine, because there are guys that do that. Lonzo's not that guy, and I think as a teammate, you like that.
I think especially for someone like LeBron James or Paul George, it's kind of a breath of fresh air from playing with someone like Kyrie Irving or
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, just because you know that he's going to take a back seat to you, and you don't have to worry about that little fight for who's going to be the leader of the team or anything like that. So I think it's an attractive place, especially with all the money, but it's a lot of expectation because it's LA.
And even where the Cavs are sitting right now, and obviously you don't know how the season's going to pan out, but with how they've played, over the last, let's say, half a month to a month, it could be a possibility that LeBron might just want out after this season.
Yeah.
He's had enough, and he wants to win in the West.
And if you look at Lonzo, we already talked about his passing ability. He's a decent rebounder for a guard, which I don't value that much, but it's still there. I mean, he's still 6'6". He's a long defender. He's a smart defender. It's one thing, like, Curry's not a great on-ball defender. He's okay, but his help side defense is really good. That's what Lonzo's kind of doing. He's like, hey, I'm not a Smith Jr. for Dallas Athlete,
Yeah.
so I can't just straight up just lock people down. But I can do my job. I can make it hard on people with my length and help on the backside, and just be a good team defender along with a good team offensive player without just being that one solo dude. And it just helps your team dynamic as a general when you have a guy who didn't care about a stats. Like, I'm just gonna go out there and just play what the game gives me. I'm gonna take it, and we're just gonna go out and try to win this game as many games as possible. And as a rookie, that's really fun to see.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I think if you just look at what you see in Cleveland right now with LeBron, and it's clear that something's just not quite right. Whether it's with LeBron and Cleveland in general, and I think if he does show up in LA, I think Lonzo then looks at that and says, "Okay, this is his team, and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to make this team better." And I think that's exactly what you want a teammate.
And I know if LeBron James goes to Los Angeles, then the NBA is going to have to make a change. And my proposal is that we go to conferenceless playoffs and just do the top 16
I think
teams.
that's a great idea.
Because the West will be so heavy. when you hear the East, you think of LeBron James.
Ridiculous. It'll be
so if
Kyrie
he
by
comes to
himself.
the
Then everyone's
West,
probably like, "Well, the Pacers are okay, the Celtics are okay."
and I think it's possible just because of what they've done with the All-Star game this year. So
They're working towards it.
Yeah.
You've already seen the divisions kind of go away a little bit.
It's been an
so.
idea that's been brought up before from a lot of people, and it's definitely something that could easily happen in the future.
Because the West has been so strong for so many since like pre-Michael Jordan, when it was Michael Jordan with the Celtics and the Pistons. That was the last time the East was really the dominant conference. Ever since then, it's been really Western based there. Especially whenever Shaq went to the Lakers and them and the Spurs went back and forth for so many years and just kind of controlled the league a lot. Right there. And a guy we haven't talked about yet, point guard, because he plays up in Portland, Damian Lillard.
my favorite player
I love
in the
Dame.
NBA.
I mean, I have a Dame jersey at home. He's got 25 points. I have a lot of jerseys of NBA players. I love this guy. He's just so fun to watch, and he's so dynamic. He's a guy who stayed a couple years 3 or 4 years in college.
I love the small college
at Weber
kids.
State.
Weber State, man. I love the small college kids.
Him and McCollum are fun to watch. I mean, when they play the Warriors, and then they don't have enough talent besides those two, and really Nurkic was hurt to really beat them. But those two guys are so dynamic. They're so much fun to watch. They keep those guys in games so much. And if he can just stay healthy with McCollum, they're a fun tandem to watch out there in the West even. So
I think I was really hoping that Carmelo Anthony would go there because I think Carmelo's really transitioning pretty well with Oklahoma City as a spot-up shooter now. And I was really hoping that he would go to Portland to do that. But I do agree that those two, McCollum and Lillard, are doing a pretty good job of, because I believe they're like sixth in the West. Fifth.
Yep.
So that's amazing.
yeah, right there between Minnesota and Oklahoma City. So they're right there, just sandwiched between them. So
And-
And Lillard's been nursing an injury here for the last, I think 5 to 7 games in that area.
Yep.
So they could have even had a better record without him, but I think Napier's doing a really good job in Lillard's place so far.
And one guy I like on their roster that was a great trade last year that kind of went under the radar was Nurkic. Getting him in there, you're just getting a big who wasn't Miles Plumlee, really, who could actually who has some skill. You averages 14 and 8. That's all you really need out of a big in Portland is a guy who's a threat to score, who's a threat to pass the ball out of the post, and someone who can take a little pressure off the guards and get something out of your big dude. And he's been doing that, and he's been really fun to watch out there in Portland.
And here's the beauty of that for me, for Portland, is Lillard and McCollum are not that old.
No.
Lillard's 27, McCollum's 26.
Nurkic's in his third year in the league. I mean, they're young.
And these are guys that have 3, 4, 5 good years left in them. Solid, I mean, right where they are now, at least years in them. That's something you can build a base around for some pretty long-term success in Portland, which hasn't happened very often.
That's true. I do think, though, the Trailblazers front office here, I don't know whether it's after this year or next year, but coming up in the future, I really think if this, Lillard-McCollum thing in the next couple of seasons, if they keep consistently finishing around, the same record, like they're only 3 games over 500 right now. Mm-hmm. Last season they missed the playoffs. The year before, I mean, if this same thing continues where they're on the edge of the playoffs, I think you might have to possibly think about trading one of those guys too.
It's definitely a thing down the road to maybe get a different piece in there, maybe a wing piece to go along with one of those guards. So definitely a thing to look forward to there. And, of course, we haven't talked about New Orleans, who's probably the best big combo in the league with Cousins and Davis. I know it's hard for those two to stay healthy right now. They're hovering around 500 as well. It's just hard to be consistent in this league when so many teams have been rebooting and almost like tanking the last few years to get some good players on their teams, and now everybody has 2 or 3 good players, and it's like, well, yeah, we're all pretty good, and then the Warriors have like 4 or 5 good players, and it's like, well, they're really, really good. So it's really hard to compete with the teams like the Warriors and the Rockets, and of course the Spurs. They just sit people, and they're still winning 28 of they're still 28-15, third best record in the West, and they sit people every other night. So the Spurs are a different animal. We don't even want to talk about. They're just a different animal. They just like, we don't really care who comes on. You wear that Spurs uniform, you're gonna compete and win. So that's all that matters.
Push go play ball.
Exactly. You're gonna roll the ball out there, even with without Kawhi. It's like, we're still above 500, top 3 record in the West.
Well,
so no biggie.
Well, that's one of the guys we haven't talked about yet is Anthony Davis. Davis is a guy that unfortunately he's an incredible basketball player on a pretty mediocre basketball team.
Yeah, he's stuck in New Orleans. It's New Orleans. Honestly, they have one of the weirdest roster constructions ever. When you look at those two big men paired with Rajon Rondo, Jordan Crawford,
Tony Allen,
Tony Allen. I mean, it's such a weird roster. Omera Sheik, who's still on a huge contract. I mean,
well, you look at these are guys that were. This is a team of what ifs. Yeah. The guys that
Drew Holiday
had a chance to be really good, and then all of a sudden went, well, maybe not that good.
And especially the Pelicans, they know that at least one of those two guys are probably going to be leaving soon. So I think it would be best for the Pelicans to just trade off one of those guys, especially, I mean, honestly, it's worked out better than I thought it would so far. They're, hovering right around 500, like you said, but that's not really going to get you anywhere in the long term. Even if DeMarcus Cousins, he's probably having, top 5, top 6 MVP year for him, averaging 26 and 13 right now, 2 steals a game. I mean, he's been playing great. Davis has been playing great, but otherwise their roster doesn't really have anything.
And you want to talk about an ageless wonder in Vince Carter. He's 40 years old and still jamming on people during games.
Like 95.
Vince Carter's, even in Sacramento, he's still succeeding. So that's kind of weird, though. He's only averaging 4 points a game this year. But every once in a while you see that. You're just like, well, Vince Carter's still in the league and he still has some ups because he's in 19 years in the league now and he's still just keep on kicking it. So him and Zebo out there in Sacramento are still trying.
It's like sometimes you forget where Vince Carter is. Like you're like, I have no idea. I thought he was retired. And then he shows up on sports and you're like, oh, hey, Vince Carter's still here.
Memphis, Dallas, Phoenix, Orlando, New Jersey, Toronto. I mean,
all those years in Toronto.
Father Time just hasn't caught up with him quite yet.
He's trying to, but
I think as soon as he gets one injury, I think he's going to be out after that. I don't know if he can sustain it. You saw that with Kobe too. You know, as soon as he tore his Achilles, he wasn't the same player.
I think Father Time wants to come around, but Zebo's always right there, and I think Father Time is scared of Zebo too. So
I'll be scared of him too.
Zebo averaging 15 and 7 this year in his 16th year in the league. 6'9". I mean, he's undersized power forward, and he's just a rough dude.
I think
he was Grind City in Memphis. He was that motto.
I think him and Carter have been good mentors to De'Aaron Fox and Cauley Stein, just so they can mature into the players that they're supposed to become. So I think they've done a good job of getting theirs, but also being mentors.
It's about time Sacramento did something like that. Not just, hey, we're just throw a bunch of these young guys on the floor and see if they just develop. Instead, like, hey, we're going to have a couple of veterans in here, too, to teach them how to play the game. And maybe it'll help a guy, because usually they're Kansas killers. So maybe they'll save Frank Mason. So they don't
that's what I was going to say. I mean, this may be the Kansas fan in me, but don't sleep on Frank Mason. This kid, I mean, he's a fighter. He is going to go out there and fight every minute. He's going to go out there. He is a born fighter, and I think that's something that's, a lot of times underrepresented in the NBA, and Frank Mason's got that in him. And so,
there's always a spot for that scrappy guy. I mean, look at Matthew Dellavedova. He got a big contract for Milwaukee. I mean, there's always that guy. If you can shoot a little bit and you're scrappy enough, I mean, you can find a spot in the NBA. So, definitely a guy who was really good in college at Kansas. That's why I hate to admit it, but
he's Mr. Kansas. I mean,
Mr. Kansas.
Wilt was great. Danny Manning was great. Frank Mason, the day he graduated, got a full-length spot on the Wall of Fame at Kansas.
Nice. And then I'm not even going through Golden State's roster because it's so stacked. I just don't like it.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's like stack. JaVale McGee, Zaza Pachulia, stack. Like everybody else is stacked. And then JaVale and Zaza.
And it's crazy too because I mean you saw Durant was out for about a month. As soon as Durant got out, Curry was out for a month.
Doesn't matter.
It's just the same thing. Yeah, it really
just
doesn't
plug
matter.
Somebody in.
And we got Klay Thompson and Draymond. That's no big game.
Yeah, that's why Perry was just looking at the MVP discussion not too long ago, and
NBA 6 Warriors on the list.
Yeah, at NBA.com they had Kevin Durant at number 1 on there, and I can't imagine at this point giving it to someone like Kevin Durant, especially. And I mean, I am a kind of a Kevin Durant hater a little bit. I will admit.
I like his game. I didn't like his decision.
Yes, but I mean, he has missed a month of the season so far, and you saw when he was out, his team was doing the same. His team was doing the same thing. I'd like to see, if you take LeBron off the Cavs, what are
they're Atlanta?
Well, that's a good point. That's a really good point because the name of the award is the most valuable player, not necessarily Who's playing the
Yeah,
best?
as soon as Kevin Durant goes out, the
Who's the
Warriors
most valuable to their team?
Yeah, the Warriors go on a 10-game winning streak as soon as Kevin Durant goes out.
It's the Cleveland LeBrons. I don't know. At the same point. So, and I mean, the Warriors are just so talented across the board. They're so hard to guard. And of course, you have the teams like the Rockets who have James Harden and Chris Paul there, and they played really well when both of those guys were healthy, and they're just having trouble to stay healthy. And then, of course, with D'Antoni, they have trouble playing a little bit of defense. But beside the point, they're with Houston. They're a fun team to watch play just because James Harden is just so tactical in everything he does. He's so skilled there, and sometimes he does get a lot of foul calls. He does little cheap things to get foul calls, like that one against Josh Hart where he hooked his arm.
Just sitting there.
He just threw it up, and Hart's like, what?
The dude drives me nuts. If he played a little bit of defense, just a little.
It has gotten better.
It has gotten better.
He does less of the Olay stuff, so it's not as obvious. He's really just noticed, okay, if I don't have those clips, I'm not as bad on defense, perception-wise at least.
Yeah.
At least
as long as I'm not going like,
and if I'm not standing 45 feet away from my guy with the basketball.
I think as an off-ball defender, he's still the same player he's always been. But I think on ball, I think he has gotten a little
Bumped
better.
it up
He
a
has
little bit.
shown that he's tried a little more on the defensive end, which is what we needed from him.
I will say that I think that if the Rockets do finish second, I feel like he will win the MVP just because he's lost it the last couple years to some amazing seasons.
that first year that Curry won it, I think Harden should have won it. The next year, Curry deserved it because he had an even better than his MVP season. And then last year, I would have voted for Harden over Westbrook. That's just me personally because I thought what Harden did was so valuable for the Rockets did last year. He was such a high usage guy. But so that's two that I probably would have given that he didn't get. So I think he feels a little slighted still about that because he is so talented offensively.
I think he's leading the league in points, and he's always up there in assists.
He's first in points and second in assists behind Westbrook.
Yeah, and I think the league is done.
Like him and LeBron, the only two in top 5 in both. Like LeBron's third in points and fourth in assists.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the league might be done giving LeBron MVPs, although he's like rightfully deserved. Every season.
He's having an MVP year now.
If I had to pick somebody right now, which no one can, like you can't just pick someone right now. You gotta wait just a little bit longer. But I feel like Harden might win it if they come in second.
I like how LeBron's averaging like 27, 8.8, and 8, and everything. Yeah, but what?
We're used to this.
Yeah, but okay.
That's normal.
It's like LeBron's like, okay, what do I do now? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's right at his career average in points, isn't it?
Yeah, 27. He averages 27, 7, and 7. He's averaging 27, almost 9 and 8. So he's definitely aging like a fine wine right now.
I do feel like the struggles that they've been having lately might hurt him too.
Yep, defensively,
but
their defense is so bad right now.
Yeah, before they've gone on this, I mean, the last 2 games they've lost by more than 25 points in both of them. But before that, and then the game before that, I think LeBron only had like 10 points. But
yeah, he had 10 points versus Minnesota on the road.
But looking back to about a week ago, I think LeBron, is clearly the front runner for the MVP after Harden went out for sure even. And Harden's going to be out for another, I think, 6 to 8 weeks is what he's supposed to be out for. So
it's going to be interesting to find out where these issues in Cleveland are coming from, where the issues lie in this situation.
It's almost hard to blame anything on LeBron at this point.
And whether it's the teammates or the way they're playing, or whether it's the fact that LeBron's hit a level of stardom that you could say only Kobe and Jordan have hit.
Yeah,
and so. If that could be getting in the way of it.
Yeah, right now it's their defense. I mean, the last 3 games at Orlando allowed 127. They won that game, 131 to 127. And then the last 2, 127 to Minnesota and a 127 to 99 loss. And then they scored 99 last night versus Toronto, but allowed 133 points. That's not – you can't do that and expect to win games. There, you're going full Houston Rockets on defense. You can't do that. So they got to figure that out a little bit defensively. And they've had these struggles in January the past 3 years in Cleveland. Like every year in January, it gets to the point where I don't know if LeBron just gets bored of the season or I don't know what happens. But like every year, Cleveland goes on this weird streak like, oh, we lost 6 of 8, and okay, it's fine. Then February hits and like, okay, let's play basketball again. It's like, why can't you just? What's wrong with you? I don't understand sometimes, but I guess it is a long season. And I think one thing that's helped the season out a lot is that extra week they gave at the beginning of the season and more days of rest so people can go harder each night, not taking days off. And it's really helped with the just to look at the league, that everybody can go all out more, and there's less rest days, and everybody's more well rested still, and they can play better each and every night. A better product for the fans, which is what's really kind of about the regular season, is giving the fans a good product. And if you're in Minnesota, you want to see LeBron play. I mean, you really do.
Yeah.
And so you give them that extra day off, and they can play more. They can play at a higher level too, and it helps out.
Yeah, not as many back-to-backs or not as many 3 games in 4 nights as
4 or 5.
Yeah, it's really helped out teams like the Cavs. They're sitting at 26-15, which, I mean, I suppose you could say it's okay.
Par for the course.
But yeah, but the defensive thing, it's something that we all should have known before the season. They have the oldest roster per average player in the NBA, so it's not something that necessarily comes out as surprise. But they've always looked bad in January, like you said. They had a losing record last season in January, so I don't think it's anything we should be too overly worried about at this point.
I just feel like Cleveland doesn't have a goal, and I just feel like they know that they can compete with the Warriors, and they kind of feel like LeBron might leave. So what is their true goal?
Yeah, like you get to the finals, you just got to beat Boston and Toronto. I mean, and then you've seen what happened when they played Toronto in the playoffs. I know they got rolled by them last night, but every year they play them in the playoffs, the Toronto goes like DeRozan and Lowry like combined for 27% from the field, and they get beaten like 5 games. And it makes like every time Toronto plays them, it just happens. And Boston plays them, and no one can guard LeBron. Then the series is over, and it's like, well, it was fun, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to be really looking forward to see if the Cavs are going to be major buyers before the trade deadline.
They had that number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm. Well, top 6 protected.
So
Brooklyn's not up there, so.
So do you all feel like that DeAndre will go to the Cavs?
It'd be an interesting thing because
they're ready to deal Tristan Thompson.
He'd be an upgrade over Tristan Thompson.
I don't know what team would pick up an overpriced big man at this point, but we'll see.
It should be interesting to see what happens there going down the stretch. And of course, as a Cavs fan, I don't want to see Milwaukee in the first round. That's what's predicted right now because Giannis is the one dude in the East. I was like, yeah, he can definitely match up with LeBron because he's even longer than LeBron is, and just
he's a freak.
He is the Greek freak for a reason. And and of course, like we said in the break, the Bucks play the Warriors tonight. No Steph Curry for the Warriors, but that should be a fun matchup tonight between those two on ESPN too. So 7:00 tonight should be a fun matchup.
Wait, on ESPN
you say,
or on
you say
ESPN
Steph
too?
is out?
Steph's out, yeah. ESPN.
Is it just a day-to-day thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then the late game is Houston versus Phoenix. You want to see a lot of points there. So Devin Booker versus James Harden. It's a shooting guard matchup in that one. So, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, we kind of went through a break here, but what are we all watching this weekend? I'll go with you first, Ryan. What are you watching this weekend? I think
college basketball. There's a lot of good college basketball on this weekend. I'll probably catch a couple NBA games. Maybe some playoff football. I'll catch the NFC games, and I'll probably watch Steelers-Jags, but I don't think I'm watching Patriots-Titans. I just don't care. I don't want to watch Tom Brady again, which is unfortunate. I want to think the Titans have a chance. I think they do have a chance, but not good enough to watch it.
What about you, Perry?
I'm usually an NBA guy, but I'm going to have to go with the NFL playoffs this weekend. Biggest game for me is the Jags versus the Steelers as well.
Who you rooting for?
I'm going to go with Steelers.
There you go.
3 Bs.
I was outnumbered earlier. All 3 of those guys were Jaguars.
I know. I was going to save you, all right? I was
going
to save you.
Caleb over there is happy with you. He's a Steelers fan through and through.
I got you. Don't worry.
What about you, Noah?
Well, I'm going to agree with Perry here. I'm for sure watching the playoffs this weekend. I think the most intriguing matchup is definitely going to be Saints-Vikings. But like you guys, too, I'm really looking forward to the Steelers-Jags game, mostly because my girlfriend's dad is a huge Steelers fan. So I can't wait to talk to him about the game afterwards, and I'll be really looking forward to seeing. Right,
maybe you might not want to.
I'll just be looking forward to see how the Steelers come out, after resting a majority of their starters in the final week of the regular season, coming off 2 weeks of not playing. You see teams do have issues coming off a bye in the regular season, and now they haven't played for 2 weeks. So I'll be interested to see how their offense comes out against that Jags defense.
And I think you're the one that told me, Noah, that Roethlisberger has a losing record against the Patriots and the Jaguars.
Yeah, 1-5 versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, I saw a stat. They said he only had a losing record against the Patriots and the Jaguars, and that really surprised me. I didn't see the Jag. I know they lost this season. See, but I don't care if they lost 30-9 in what was that, week 5? I don't care if they lost 100-9, 1,000-9. The Steelers are winning this game. All right, the Steelers are winning this game.
That's a long football game.
Hold on.
Long football game.
They're winning this game.
9-hour game.
I got Steelers. I got the 3 Bs.
I'll be watching all the NFL games, at least keeping track of them. I'm not sure how much I'll watch the Titans Patriots game, as you said, but we'll at least keep track of that for a while. I'll keep track of that for a while. Also, if you're interested, late night on Sunday, you have Trailblazers T-Wolves. That could be interesting. That's on ESPN, as well as Monday, if you want to watch some NBA, Lakers Grizzlies on TNT, Warriors Cavs, and Rockets Clippers. So 3 games on TNT on Monday. So
nice to come watch Northwest.
That's MLK. And then, of course, this weekend for Northwest, tomorrow 1:30 and 3:30 for the women and men. I'll be calling the game with Perry. We'll have a fun game tomorrow versus Southwest Baptist. And then Monday, 1:30 and 3:30 versus Central Missouri. They're at Bearcat Arena. They call that game as well. That'll be Austin Hall and Jacob Blair on that call for us here at X106. If you want some updates during the games, we'll be tweeting out at X106_sports. I'm going to plug the Twitter handle. And I want to thank you guys, Dynamic Duo. Probably have you guys on quite a bit here, talk some NBA, and Noah Cooper and Perry Randle. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on this first show of 2018. So good to see you guys again.
Appreciate it.
And, of course, Ryan, as always, full 3 hours.
I'm Mr. Consistency.
We can't trust Trevor.
You can't get rid of me.
As we're going to sign off today for the show, and that's all we got for you guys. Everybody have a good Friday and a good weekend here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff.